Look at his face. He's pissed. Hey, your dad counted out.
You guys are my best friends.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And welcome to the 50th episode of the Degenerate School of Wizardry. I am one of three hosts. My name is Corey Shuba, and sitting across the table from me tonight is Matt Egizio.
What's going on?
To my left is Seth. He thinks he's fucking hilarious. Seth Zacco.
Seth, he thinks he's so...
Yeah,
Hey, everybody.
fuck
The
that.
sexy sons of Seth.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
Sexiest.
To my right is our very special guest tonight, my father, the one and only Ken Shuba.
Happy 50th to this
Thank you.
podcast.
Thanks for coming in and hanging
Yeah,
out with us
absolutely.
tonight, Bob.
We've been
My pleasure.
trying to get this together for a long time.
Before we get started, why don't we give the crowd a little bit of a background of my dad and just like, grew up in Pittsburgh and
Yeah, he can introduce himself.
Yeah.
Give us a little bio.
I grew up in
Let's-
Pittsburgh. Yeah, well,
let's do a quick little.
that's an
bio.
understatement. Born in '54, raised through the steel mill industry area of Homestead, Pennsylvania,
When men were men.
where men were men,
Yeah.
right on the 7th and 8th Avenues of Homestead's mill gates, where steel originated.
Is that in the Quaker Valley, or is that on the south side or the north side?
Oh no, it's on the south side.
Oh, like
The Monongahela.
Pittsburgh.
It
Yeah.
is the birthplace.
Yeah.
And then at the modest age of 6, my father, of course, owned a tavern on 8th Avenue in Homestead. It was called Mary's Bar and Grill. And that afforded us to make some money to move out of the city and basically up into the suburbs
Okay.
by the county airport, Allegheny County Airport of West Mifflin Borough, and had a nice upbringing in the suburbs, the modern suburbs of
Is that by Moon?
Western Pennsylvania.
That airport?
No, Moon Township is where the Greater Pitt Airport is,
Okay.
and it's way far away to the west.
Yeah, that's the area I lived in. Not Moon. I lived in on Neville Island,
hmm
which is a real shithole if you've ever.
Yeah, but it's where the Penguins train, so
Yeah, that's true. They Robert Morris, that little sports dome they have, which is so out of place because it's really modern and nice.
Yeah.
And everything around it's
Shit.
shit.
well, everything has deteriorated so
Oh, yeah,
much
yeah.
up there since the close of basically all the mills. I mean, at one time they had 12 to 14 mills going on, and now they're down to like 2. So
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable growing up and visiting there as a kid because we would only go like once a year for a couple of weeks. So my recollection of Pittsburgh growing up is these 2-week spans where it was like the end of the steel era, and then slowly watching the area decay almost to the point of it being like a Chernobyl. You know what I mean? And
wow.
then watching it also be rebuilt. And then once where steel mills stood, now there were strip malls and amusement
Yeah.
parks.
Well, there's
It was really trippy.
a
It's
lot of
crazy to
technology
see.
now too, like modern, like I don't know, whatever technology. I think that's where why Pittsburgh kind of regained some of its affluence.
Yeah, it's like the Silicon Valley of the East now. There's a lot of computer.
it's a
companies.
research park city.
Yeah.
I mean, it simply has turned into something that was so vibrant to keep the nation going, which was steel.
Yeah.
And then once they were basically run out of their own business
Right.
by, and we could get into this sometime or at another time about the unions.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm all in favor of unions, but sooner or later there's a better way of doing business, and they decided to ride the wave as long as they could,
Right.
which basically ended up killing them.
Right.
They priced themselves out of the market.
And once the European nations decided and the Chinese decided they can make, steel much cheaper and export it to us, other people decided that's the way to build. And once that happened and the price of steel here in the United States it was so expensive, no one wanted to buy our own steel.
Right.
And that's the way of the world. And unfortunately, where steel originated in Homestead, Pennsylvania, that steel mill that was owned by U.S. Steel Corporation completely dissolved, completely torn down, and they call what they call right now the waterfront, which is basically
like
something that looks like locally here Waterford Lakes on that land with the Lowe's 12 Theater.
I know exactly. Yes,
And a couple hotels and condos that have been perched on this area. All of a sudden, my grandfather, who was in Mesta Machine, right next to it, they built a water slide park called Sandcastle.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the waterfront is a really popular place for people to just go and walk around.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is owned by Kennywood, which is the amusement park that had stood and still was standing and still going strong after about 120 years.
That same kind of thing happened in my hometown in Joliet, like the steel industry tank.
Yeah, he's from right outside of Chicago.
Yeah, and same thing.
Right.
Everything kind of just went to shit, and then kind of was stagnant for a while, and they brought in like the boats, like casino boats,
Sure.
for boat gambling.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "Oh, that's gonna fix everything. It's gonna fix everything," and it just ran small businesses into the ground.
Yeah, it's
people go gamble, and then they'd owe their business to it.
The new
Casinos
industry. It was the new industry.
Yeah,
but,
and it's just they're still just reeling from that, and I don't know. It's picking up a little bit better, but I think they're finding that small business is the way to go in that
Right.
in that kind of situation.
You know what I find really intriguing is that the Vegas formula really only works in fucking Vegas,
Yeah.
man. Like, it
Fuck
doesn't
Las
work in
Vegas.
Atlantic
Nah,
City.
Thank you.
It doesn't work on
Zero
any of those
interest
fucking
in
boats.
Las
It doesn't,
No.
in any of those areas, it closes the economy down. And I think the only reason it works in Vegas is because that's the only economy they have in
Right.
Vegas.
Well,
and
and
then,
then
like-
look at Biloxi. It's
Yeah.
like it's honestly it's the most disgusting place in the United States. It has to be.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
It's like,
but it's still boats, like he was saying.
it's like
before.
south of the border.
Yeah.
With
It's the boat
casinos.
industry.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And what's crazy is, like I was saying, like that small kind of business, and like how we were talking about artisan, like the artisan
Right.
like kind of factor is
Well,
doing more for smaller towns than any
Pittsburgh
big
is a
business.
place where small business restaurants
Mhm.
still outnumber chain restaurants.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
Without a doubt.
that's kind of
That's
like a
badass.
neighborhood thing, though, right?
Yeah, it really
like
is. Yeah.
like each little neighborhood has their restaurant, and those people are fucking loyal to their restaurants. Like they are going to
Well-
go to their restaurant and have their Friday fish fry, or
Right.
Sunday afternoon they're going in for lunch. It's
Yep.
routine. Now, what's scary to think about is the fact that once that generation passes away, I don't think the younger generations are into that.
Well, it's interesting you mention it because there's still a tavern on every corner.
Oh yeah,
Right.
with two guys in there sitting at the bar.
Well,
yeah.
2 or 3 guys,
Yeah.
and there are certain bars that do better than others.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting though that you mention that because every time I go back home for a vacation and I go in these same bars, I am seeing the 30-somethings
Oh, are there?
now taking over that bar.
Really?
And there's a new regeneration of taverns in Pittsburgh because they decided to up their game.
Right.
Everybody's a new sports bar with new high definition televisions,
right.
and they offer a new, a new type of sandwich. They try to compete versus the Permane Brothers sandwich,
Good luck.
and they even do that here in town at Church Street Station.
Yeah, there's a joint on Church
There's-
Street
there's
that's
a guy-
serving for Manny's.
that
Really?
who's
No shit.
from Braddock, from Woodland Hills, just
Really?
above Braddock, and he and another partner.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah,
it's Pittsburgh and Chicago style food.
Right,
Yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
Oh,
the one guy's from Chicago, the other guy's from
Uh-huh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I've seen
It's
that
called
concept,
what is
yeah.
it called? Steel Street? Is that the name of the tavern?
Steel City Tavern, maybe I'm not sure.
Something
Here's-
like that.
Here's
But
what
it's on
they
Church
don't
Street,
have,
though.
But
It's
we
just
went there and
decent.
had a couple sandwiches before the Solar Bears
Solar Bear
game.
games,
I
yeah.
heard about that. I was
They
like
don't-
freaking out. They have like Chicago style dogs, and then
Yeah.
they had
Yeah,
Exactly.
they have-
Unless
yeah.
they're getting Mancini's
And the food is
bread,
good.
Yeah.
they're not going to be anywhere near the Permane Brothers sandwich.
It's not, and they don't go directly in the same vein to do a copy.
Yeah.
It's just the same like building block
It's like
formula.
heart attack food.
So
Yeah,
wait,
but I mean-
what is this sandwich you speak of for the ones who
It's
don't
2
know?
pieces of French bread,
Uh-huh.
and then you choose your meats, whatever you want on your sandwich, and then it comes with whole cut fries. Like they push the French fry through or the potato through the French fry
I've
thing.
seen too many, if you ask me.
Yeah, there's too many, and then a shit ton of just vinegar-based coleslaw.
Right.
and then you can like add a
It's like
fried egg
cheese
and whatever
and-
cheese, melted cheese you
Okay.
want on it.
Which
It's-
he always gets.
They're damn. I mean,
The
they're
egg
damn
ones.
good. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about that.
They're
That's
banging.
awesome.
They're
Yeah.
amazing, and it's weird because it's a lot of food, but it's so good that if you eat one fast enough, you can eat a second one.
See, what they don't say about Permanis is how good their wings are. Their wings
I've
are
never had their wings.
phenomenal.
Really?
Best wings I've ever had.
Now, which one did you go to?
I went to the original one that's busy.
Okay, yeah, the
And
one
then I
down in the
stopped during
district,
that
right?
because-
the strip district is what it's
Yeah.
called, right?
Yeah.
The strip
Because
district.
the office building I worked in was like 2 blocks away from there, so
Oh,
that's
wow.
where I would go for lunch.
Yeah.
Problem is, man, you have to be quick. Like
Mhm.
that's all they do during lunch. You can't sit there and get wings during lunch because they're just everyone's there for a sandwich. You stand in line, you get
Right.
your sandwich, and you get the fuck out.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
don't
yeah,
wanna
yeah.
hang around.
No, that's exactly correct. Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah, that's how this place Subdoc was up north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
It's the one in Moon is better to just go sit down and have like a meal, like for dinner.
They've got one here in Florida.
Yeah, it's
Done-
in Tampa.
It's
One in the Lauderdale.
yeah.
too.
There's one in Fort Lauderdale, there's one in Tampa, but they don't have the ambiance, you know.
Well-
and I think that plays a large part of the experience when
Well,
you go
that's-
down to Strip District, and also the seasoning on their flat top, because that flat top's been there for how many years?
Like, yeah.
a lot.
It's
But
been there for a long time, cooking a lot of sandwiches,
Right.
and these places don't have that.
No,
history.
they don't. Like Mancini's bread is all over Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's the only city I've ever known to have a store with a bread aisle just for that brand of bread. And
Yeah.
then they have a separate bread aisle for all the other stuff. It's amazing. That's all I ate when I was there was Mancini's bread, everything.
But
It's delicious.
getting back to the steel mills and so on and so forth,
Mhm.
but basically everything that was in the Homestead Mud Hall area was completely torn down, and the warehouses that were built and were together in Mud Hall, believe it or not, Mud Hall, Pennsylvania, and Orlando, Florida, bid back when Al Gore was running for president, bid on a fuel cell car manufacturing plant by Siemens.
It's there. It's
And
still there.
and it's still there, but Westinghouse now bought the building because Al Gore never made it to president.
Right.
And that would have employed 3,000 unemployed steelworkers at the time, and we would be driving fuel cell cars right now as we speak.
But the
if
petroleum-
Al Gore would have become
We have
president.
a lot more green technology too
Right.
across the board.
But because of that, that is now just a U.S. Steel museum.
Yeah. It's weird.
And
And
it's the
if you-
weirdest part every
If
time
you
you
drive
go.
through the Quaker Valley on the north side, all those steel mills are there, and they're just like there's the buildings are there, but people like throwing rocks through the windows.
And again, just like we said before, it looked like Armageddon went
it
through.
really does.
Yeah.
Like they just stopped one day and never came back,
Right.
and they just left everything the way it was.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
there
why
was
they call it the Rust Belt.
There
Yeah.
was no upkeep. There was no nothing. There's just like, yeah, it's shitty.
Well, and if you've been like
Same thing back home.
the only place
Yeah.
that has
Yeah,
a bounce
exactly.
back is that area. Like it's people are hurting in that side of town.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
Yeah,
thank
for
God
sure.
for the department stores that were built on that land, and thank God for all the other hotels and motels and movie theaters and everything that they have vitalized. But
They haven't built shit back.
it's basically a white collar city living in a blue collar town.
That's
Right,
what I was
yeah.
gonna actually jump on. From an outsider's perspective, what it looks like is what those areas were the central focal point because of the mills were right down the bottom of the hill. Now it's turning into and evolving into the suburbs for the actual downtown area.
All right, and,
Yeah.
and to be honest, I mean, and I looked at the attendance figure last night for a Pittsburgh Park game. It was another sellout crowd.
Yeah,
They had
really.
31,000 there. But here's the catch: they support sports in that town
Yes.
like crazy. But those who are in attendance are all the people who can afford it,
Yes.
Right.
and that's the population that works in Pittsburgh.
Right.
The people who really are suffering in Pittsburgh, thank God for cable.
Right.
And every bar that they can go in
Yeah.
and buy a $2 draft
Yeah.
because that's where they watch their games and support their team.
Well, I heard that they finally stopped the blackouts because they were blacking out games for a long time.
Mhm.
Now
That's one of the-
they
I
got rid
hate
of the
that.
blackout.
That
Yeah.
drives me insane.
Yeah.
There's suburbs like Robinson is right outside of Pittsburgh, and they
Robinson
built
Township,
it just for like strip malls and stuff.
Oh, really?
But you're never gonna get rid of like Bellevue and all those old industrial places. Like
Mhm.
there's nothing you can do with those. They're like built on rock. You know,
Yeah.
just and that's honestly that the most charming part of Pittsburgh is old Pittsburgh, without a doubt. Now the shame is there's all these old Victorian mansions that have been abandoned. Like by Hot Metal Bridge,
Right.
nobody can afford to buy them and restore a Victorian house.
Right.
So eventually,
And why would you though? In that area, why would you invest excuse me.
Yeah.
Why would you invest the money it would take to you
And
know
then have to live there.
exactly?
The shame of it is, these are like they're beautiful houses.
Yeah.
Like you can imagine what they looked like in the 18th century.
You know the
And the same in Illinois.
Oh yeah,
it goes
totally.
the same.
People do that around. Like I live in an area called the Cathedral area.
Mhm.
There's this gigantic church, Cathedral Saint Ray's, and all the houses surrounding it, like they're historic. They're landmarks. You can't tear them down. You know they're there. They're protected, and people do buy them and restore them. But the same thing happens every time. Like after a few years, they tend to abandon them because
Right.
they can't afford the upkeep. They can't afford the energy costs. Like, and that's what I was going to say with that is it's a shame that like you can't maintain those houses. Like
Right.
they're just not efficient, especially not with the cost of living today. Like,
Right.
It's
Well, think
it's
about
sad.
is there property tax in Pittsburgh, in
it.
Pennsylvania?
It's
Yeah.
a Commonwealth, man. The government, well, they stick it to you, man.
Yeah, so that sucks too. You know, like that does
Oh,
not.
man.
It doesn't. What's the
You
word I'm
get,
looking
you get
for?
tax breaks in Joliet. I know that if you own one of those
Oh,
style
sir.
houses.
Let me give you a little lesson
But-
on township taxing. If you drive through a township, you have to pay taxes in that township. I had to drive through I had to pay.
Like commute.
Yeah.
because I use their roads.
Yeah, exactly.
So your business does. If you have to drive, they calculate
Dumbest
where
thing.
you live, and then you get taxed by each of the townships you have to drive through to get to work.
That's
Yep.
worse than the tollway.
Dude, they
That's fucking
taxed
stupid.
me to fucking death.
yeah.
God.
But I was on the white collar side, and I was making a lot of money. And you're either doing really well there, or you're doing really bad.
Mhm.
So I was.
There's no in between.
There really isn't.
And that separation, unfortunately, is a direct reflection of pretty much everywhere in the country now. Almost.
Yeah. Well,
You know, like I kind of feel like Orlando, you know, there is a separation there, but there is a fair amount of people who actually are what I consider now middle class. But in other areas like a struggling Pittsburgh or a dwindling city,
Yeah.
that division is
the
astronomical.
difference is though that it used to be reversed.
Right.
The people who don't have anything now are people who used to make a lot of money. Like if you were an average person, and I don't want to talk over. Ken will know obviously way more about this than I will, but my dad made as an 18-year-old working in a steel mill good money,
Yeah.
and that.
But that's
that doesn't
because your
exist
life
anymore.
expectancy wasn't that high.
Well,
The
problem
turnover
is-
rate is really high in those positions
Right.
because
There's
of
that.
injury, because you can't breathe those gases in for very long without it
Yeah.
like really hurting you.
Which
you know?
is-
And I shoveled coke along the tracks in Clarendon Coke Works for 2 weeks. Finally passed out. I mean, I only weighed
Oh,
about 140 pounds, and I was wearing asbestos suits, helmet,
yeah.
goggles, mask, steel-toed boots, everything. And it's 90 degrees in Pittsburgh, and it's about 160 next to the ingots that are rolling on the track beside you, and you're clearing out all that stuff away from it. I couldn't take it. I mean, we were dropping salt tablets in our bodies like crazy,
Yeah.
and I finally passed out one day, and I said, I'll take my 2-week check, and that's it. That's the last time I worked in that, and which was a blessing. I mean, there's always certain turns in your life that you take, and that was a blessing because that propelled me to stay in the television
Right.
business, which I stayed at cable. There was a little place, Dynamic Cablevision, one of the first cable companies in the country that originated out of Boston, Massachusetts. The guy from Boston came and started it in the 5 boroughs area outside of Pittsburgh before Pittsburgh ever had cable.
That's
And we're some say the godfather of soul disc jockeys, Porky Chedwick in Pittsburgh. He played at Whammo Radio, which was right there at the High Level Bridge, which is now called the Homestead Grace Bridge. But there, and a tavern across next to it was Coyote's Tavern, or Kyoto's as he used to call it.
Shadows.
But that place there, Porky Chedwick, you know, the platter pushing papa of soul, you know, he's the one who spun the first records that got everybody into, you know, the black history of soul music to the white workers, steel mill workers coming out of the, you know, the steel mill. And
I have a question. This is kind of well, I don't know if it's off topic or not, but how do you feel about the current cable fiasco going on with the internet and everything?
I don't like what's going on.
Yeah.
And along with a
As far as
lot of
like
other things, but it's
choking
more of a
fans.
monopoly. It's becoming more of a monopoly. More and
Yeah.
more American greed is taking over, and especially in the airwaves now. I mean, whether it's jets and jet airplanes with you know, Southwest and AirTran, you get the same with Comcast and
Comcast is
fighting.
trying to buy Bright House now.
Well,
right?
Time
They're
Warner.
trying.
Fox wants
Right.
to take Time Warner, and it's all because of movie rights and cable rights, and before you
It's
know
like-
it, there'll be the Netflixes and the Hulus
it's
and
like
everybody
the only,
else.
The only free speech space we have
Right.
left is just being
Well,
torn apart.
here-
now.
Well, there's
Right.
this,
The
and
internet,
someone
yeah.
will take over this
Oh, yeah.
before long.
Yeah, it'll be gone.
Well,
It
this
won't-
is just the birth, though.
Yeah,
This
right.
is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, what's
But-
going on, and as you can see, also after the .com crash,
Mhm.
a lot of consolidation all of a sudden took place behind closed doors, and in the industry, it progressed it quickly,
Mhm.
but it also made it a greedy business
Oh, yeah.
to a point now where, and I'm glad that the FCC ruled that one of the non-airwave corporations, Aereo, was shot down to say that they could open up the airwaves. And the reason why I'm glad this happened is because once you would do that, then you would make it a piracy thing. It would start, it'd be like the Napster of the airwaves.
Yeah.
And good does come about it, but in an unregulated way to a point whereas it would collapse the industry wholeheartedly. Now, greed taking over the industry with all the consolidations and the buyouts and so on and so forth, that's happened and that's business. That's what
the
goes on
problem-
Wall Street every day.
I think the big issue with that though is the fact that the person now that in charge of our government that says yes and no on these things was once a lobbyist for the cable companies.
Well, again,
that's
yeah.
like having a guy on the inside and he's the one in fucking charge.
Well,
But
what-
that's-
yeah.
that they do that with every industry.
I know,
And
I
yeah,
know.
It's terrible.
But it doesn't allow for a fair fight in
Right.
any angle.
No, it
when you
doesn't.
have the guy who was the captain of the other team now is the official for the game,
Right.
Right.
you're done.
What do you think he's going to turn his back on the
Yeah.
industry friend?
No, and he's the one that poured the money into the whole thing
Yeah.
to begin with. Like
Yeah.
lobbyists are going to kill this country.
they already have.
That's.
But
yeah.
because the games can still be played, and they're the major game players that do it for each corporation,
Mhm.
whether it's
They're the ones sponsoring
pharmaceuticals,
the games.
whether it's pharmaceuticals ramming down commercials during the evening newscasts,
Yeah.
compared to whether they can turn about what goes on in our natural water aquifers, and any you can touch on any topic,
and there's lobbyists.
and there's lobbyists,
Right,
and they're
sure.
controlling what the government's put out in an unprecedented way, and it's starting to now eat at the moral and bottom line basics of what this country was founded on.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah,
Totally.
I've been saying it for the longest time that lobbyists are the cancer that our country is battling right now, and there's no cure for it. I don't think. Until you remove lobbyists from the system, and I don't even know how you do that now. I don't even know how you remove the lobbyists from the system and allow the system to run. What the
Well,
problem is you're gonna make these politicians actually make decisions instead of taking checks
we have
and agreeing to things.
campaign finance laws that nobody enforces.
Right.
The system is in place to take people down, but nobody does it.
Because
Well,
they're all getting
Because they're
paid.
getting paid, yeah.
Yeah,
And-
it would be guilty. you
And
know?
it just crossed my mind now. The Lincoln movie that Daniel Day-Lewis was so good in.
Yeah, he was incredible.
The people who were in charge of trying to get congressmen swayed on to do the voting were lobbyists,
Right.
basically, and going from district to district, trying to get and persuade people of how to vote in that major vote, for the declarations of
Right. Yeah.
of the good of all civil rights.
Right. Unfortunately, soon as money enters the picture, it's over. Like there's no way. Even you can wave the amendment in front of their faces all
Right.
day long, and they're like, "Well, that's fine and good, but this person's given me an apartment in Washington D.C.
Yep.
I have a black Amex card that I can spend anything I want.
Mhm.
So I'll let him have what he wants, or I'll let even him write the verbiage that goes on the bill
And
that
I'll
he wants
sign
to
it.
pass.
Yeah.
They write their own fucking bills.
Mhm.
These lobbyists do. It's crazy.
It's dumbfounding how we were saying, we were talking about a minute ago, how before we even started, how money, I was like, well, they print the money, and you're like, yeah, but it's meaningless. It's something so meaningless has so much power.
It's
Like,
ridiculous.
which is, I
See,
think,
that's the scariest thing
I
about
know.
our system because it's what it's so collapsible, it's scary.
Mhm.
That's what scares me because there's no gold backing the dollar.
No,
it's
it's
just
all
that
confidence.
we
There's
trust
not even
it.
enough gold to back any currency.
Well, no.
That's the problem.
But it's set up to where we in this room trust that when we get paid, that little piece of dollar or that little
Right.
piece of fabric is worth something.
Fabric.
No,
I get
but
ones and zeros.
It's
But you know
paper
what, though?
with
Like,
I get
son
ones
of a
and
bitch.
zeros, dude.
Bitcoin's
I
the
get
same
all
thing.
digital.
Yeah,
You know what
I don't even
well,
get a check.
you know what I'm talking about. But even that number, that
Yeah.
numeric number means something.
Mhm.
Like in reality, it doesn't mean jack shit.
Yeah,
No,
but
no, it doesn't.
It's
could-
just pushing product back and forth,
Exactly.
and it's pushing this economy system, and we're feeding into the beast, and we don't actually have anything
the only
tangible for it.
right
We
tangible
fucking,
like
we
but-
work our whole lives for shit.
Well, no. The thing is, if we all believe it, it works.
Yeah,
If you
well,
believe
if we
that the
all
dollar's
believe
worth
in
a
fucking
dollar.
Santa Claus isn't gonna appear.
Yeah, but I can't trade two Santa
Now I'm
Clauses for
heartbroken
one.
because all those years I taught you about Santa Claus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
and now he's just destroyed the myth
Yeah, right.
of Santa Claus.
I knew very young age that there was no Santa Claus because
Yeah.
I would get a bike for Christmas, and then the next morning Dad would be like, "Oh yeah, it only took me like 30 minutes to put that bike together." What about Santa Claus? Screw Santa Claus. I'm awesome at this. Did you see what I built? I built that shit.
And it was a
Just
good
kidding.
bike, and it was
damn
solid,
good bike.
wasn't
It
it?
was a
Yeah.
solid bike.
Yeah.
Damn good bike.
Oh, I saw 22 Jump Street. You were fucking correct, sir.
Right? Isn't it?
Oh,
awesome?
I haven't
Oh
seen
my
it yet.
goodness.
I saw
Oh my god.
I saw-
laughed my ass off.
Did
the
you
entire
go see the
time.
Purge?
I saw The Purge, dude.
God.
So disappointed.
Why would you? It looked
So
awful.
disappointed. No, it looked the
No,
trailer.
it didn't. No, it looked awful. It looked like it
The
was
first
gonna
one
be a hunk of
seemed
shit.
interesting, but
No.
the
Listen,
plots.
I want everyone to
Okay.
save their money. Don't go see this movie. It's the worst
Go see
hunk of
22 Jump
shit.
Street.
The concept sounds good,
Right.
just like
Right.
Planet of the Apes sounds good.
That's been getting stellar reviews.
I haven't
Really,
seen it.
it's a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wanna
but for the
see-
CGI, though, I think is more and more incredible as
Yeah.
Oh,
as
without a
time
doubt.
goes
Yeah,
on.
without a
Every
doubt.
movie that's ever made,
Yeah.
you know, you have a special effects year that comes along that
Right.
just does itself.
Yeah.
I
Like
kind
Yeah.
I kind of feel like these films, the cost of them, are getting to a point where every script becomes a gamble.
Well, it's
Like,
you know what else?
Case in
though?
point, like Transformers, the
or
new
Godzilla.
one.
Yeah.
Well, Godzilla made its money
Transformers,
back in
though,
the
was a
first fucking
gamble.
night.
Yeah,
That
It got
Godzilla
terrible
killed.
reviews.
Transformers, though, that was a $500 million film to make.
Right.
$500 million to make a film, and it's all CGI based.
Yeah.
But they barely made their ass back on the back end
Yeah.
from worldwide sales.
Well,
they
that-
just made their money back, and that's it. So what's the point of making this
But
movie?
those are the only movies that make
You don't
any
even
money.
make a profit. Like, the only thing you're going to make money on is selling stupid merchandise
Yeah, toys.
and toys and,
Yeah.
and
It's those
lunchboxes and shit.
You got to pay Marky Marcos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he gets a bunch on the back end.
Well, the thing is,
he
like
gets a lot
those
of
middle of the
money,
road,
for sure.
like $20 million movies make $0. That's why
Right.
they don't make those anymore.
Right.
So
And I mean, well, movies like Clerks. How much
Yeah.
did Clerks cost?
26,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's it.
How much has that made?
tons.
Tons.
Exactly. What did that do for Kevin Smith?
Everything.
Everything, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like so.
I mean, and you still see that.
And he did it again with Red State. Red
Yep.
State made a shit ton of money.
You
and it
see,
cost them $4
we
million.
are seeing that
Dude,
more and
28
more.
days later,
The
it was shot
independent
with,
film,
with handy
yeah,
cams and
yeah.
shit. Like,
and like the Blair Witch Project is probably
that, yeah.
the best
yeah.
example because that film cost that guy $20,000 to make, and it grossed worldwide
Mhm.
$200 million.
Unfortunately, he sold it for $1 million.
Yeah.
He didn't get any of that.
Well, that was
Yeah,
a revolutionary time period of movie making.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, we all saw it,
I saw it
and
twice.
and we all said to ourselves, "Wow!"
Yeah.
And to know how it was made, I think once it was made in the fashion it was made,
Yeah.
each film school in America now all of a sudden either reopened
Yeah.
Right.
or they decided that their curriculum was going to be changed immediately overnight.
That movie
And
saved,
every college in America, that saved
Yeah.
film,
dude, it did.
Yeah.
And
the
that
film course in America.
that movie
Well-
also saved Full Sail University here in Orlando.
Well,
What it did
that
was-
place
like
was
I
on
said,
its way out.
yeah, I agree.
And because that kid went,
Yeah.
that saved that school.
Everyone who saw that movie said, I can do that too.
Yeah,
It's one of those type of movies.
Yeah.
Like, I could have done that.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to try.
right.
But everybody, though, jumped into the game all of a sudden and said
Yeah.
to themselves, if they were connected in any way with television or film, and said, Now we can make a better mousetrap
Well,
because
what
they
I-
did it before and people bought it.
What?
They weren't expecting people to buy that premise.
Right.
But because it scared the living jeebies out of us. Now, of course, we've got an iPhone with a GPS on it,
Right.
and you can find your way anywhere. But
Yeah.
But that's essentially how they made that movie, which is pretty interesting. Like I watched this doco on it, and they
That's a fancy word.
you sons of bitches,
I'm gonna write that one down.
just all over my dick tonight.
It's revolutionary,
I
folks.
was on my vacay and I watched
It's-
this doco.
You sons of
And it's
bitches.
the 50th. So
Uh,
I mean,
Can we talk about documentaries?
Yeah,
Go
we
ahead.
can talk.
I just want to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
how shitty they're getting.
Yeah, well, this one's actually pretty interesting, because the way that they went about this is they gave these guys GPS markers, and then they walked through the woods and they set up everything for these actors,
Mhm.
and then these actors were given these little cue cards at each location, so they would follow their GPS, they would get to a spot. They would open up each envelope, and their envelope read out what they were their particular plot turn for that scene, and they weren't supposed to share that information with the other actors.
Mhm.
And then they were just playing it out live on their handy cams. It's brilliant. It's really brilliant because what you're doing is you're controlling the direction of the film without directing at all.
and
Uh-huh.
I think also the influx of night vision. We
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
didn't see night vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a handy cam with night vision, and to have that was a scarier part
Oh,
of the
I had-
movie too, because it was like, where's it coming from? What's going on? What's that noise? Where you going? You know? And
The only other movie that did that had that viral effect was Paranormal Activity.
Yeah,
Like,
but
remember when they started
Paranormal-
dropping?
right.
They started dropping
Yes.
those little trailers and shit for it.
that was many years later, and
Right.
and I think Blair Witch may be credited for having the first viral internet campaign marketing scheme.
Afraid not, sir. Remember my big fat Greek wedding?
that
was-
No,
I was
we're
gonna
not-
say
no, we're
War,
not talking-
War of the Worlds.
No,
but,
yeah,
I mean,
well,
that was an
no,
internet.
what I'm talking about is fabricated viral
Oh, okay,
media
gotcha.
to promote the film. Like they were leaking these little video clips,
Yeah.
and people thought the shit was real.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
paranormal. Was.
Yeah.
Like, they're like
Okay, let
showing
me
those
ask
little
you,
clips
before
in
I
theaters.
start shitting on documentaries. Actually, let me make one more point about the Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
As a grown man, I was thinking to myself, that part where the guy's been made to stand in the corner before he's killed.
Fuck that.
I don't know who lives in the woods. I'm just saying this right now. If you're listening to this in the woods, I can fuck you up so
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
I'm not standing in the corner. I will knock every
Well-
last tooth out of your stupid, silly, ass fucking
Cut
redneck
my
face.
fucking legs off.
I will
I'll kill
beat
you.
the dicks off you fools.
Yeah.
Like that been Blair Witch. Me getting
So
my
no
ass
more repeats of Deliverance, I guess.
kicked. No.
I will beat the dicks off you. And
Yeah, you're right,
beat you with
motherfucker.
said
I do
dicks
have a
that I
pretty
beat
mouth,
off you
and I
for.
am going to kill your ass. Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But anyhow, another movie that took that a step further, and we'll get off the movie subject, but I guess it was called Copperfield.
Oh no,
Cloverfield.
Or Cloverfield.
Yes, I
Cloverfield, yeah.
loved Cloverfield.
Yeah,
I
no,
liked
David
it.
Copperfield. No,
Yeah.
Cloverfield, right.
Yeah.
But-
Everybody shit on that movie, but it was
No,
actually
I liked it.
solid.
The ending was disappointing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know how to end it.
Right.
That's right.
But the problem with the film is that it went to such a degree of handycam shakiness that you either liked it or you couldn't watch it because
Well,
it would
right.
make you sick.
You're absolutely right. I mean, between the two movies, those two movies, I can't watch, and I had a tough time even looking at them in the theater because I get motion sickness, and because watching that, I was sick near the end of the movie.
And
by the end of the movie,
last
I
night,
was,
the
you know,
fucking
you can't-
Purge, there's a lot of running scenes
Oh,
where the
right.
people are
Right.
just running and they're way too
Well-
long. But the camera's doing this the entire
Yeah,
time
that
because
I
they're
don't-
running with the people,
Right.
and it's just like I was like
See-
jerking off the biggest dick in the
Yeah.
world right there on the camera. Look at that. It was like double hand that motherfucker. That's a 2-pound cock right there. But no, seriously though, like
200
I
pounds.
seriously watching the screen, and there were times where I had to look down because
That's-
it was just making me fucking
That's
dizzy.
what the last.
And you
Bourne-
love roller coasters.
And I love roller
yeah,
coasters,
so
so
That last Bourne movie was unwatchable because that car chase, all they did was shake the camera the whole time.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a Bourne movie since the first one.
Well,
But you know, all this will change because of this instrument
Oh, yeah.
right here.
well, they did.
And I heard in the iPhone 6, image stabilization will be a norm.
Yeah.
And movie making, because they want more people to do movie making
Dude,
off of an iPhone.
they made that Escape from the Tomorrowland or Escape from
Yeah. I know the
the Disney movie. Yeah, Escape from Tomorrowland. They shot it all on iPhones.
They shot The Dirties too, which is Kevin Smith released that film under his label.
Oh really?
It's all shot on
iPhones.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how they got into Disney and did all those Disney scenes.
Yeah.
Is because the employees didn't know. They're just walking around screwing around with their phones. You know, how could you
Dude,
tell?
It's incredible the amount of technology that's in there. Like just,
Oh yeah.
dude, I my Instagram is all beer and
I'm
shit.
still rocking a flip phone, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, but it's still all the tip of the iceberg. I mean,
Yeah.
us doing this here,
Yeah.
just now, and you think about this, and you will look back, 10, 15 years from now, and people will say, wow, that's so archaic,
Yeah.
the way you do
Yeah.
it. I
Look,
mean,
they had a soundboard. How weird is that?
Yeah.
You know,
they had
like,
microphones.
What are those wires?
when they were,
Exactly.
microphones that they're talking into, aren't they implanted where you can just telepathically do your own show?
Yeah.
The
Well,
cloud somehow picks up everything.
Pretty much, I think what the evolution of this will go down to is you will be able to podcast a show this size on one phone by Bluetooth syncing all the devices that we're talking into the one little app, and I'll be able to control the levels here, and then that's it. And you can splice sound
I
into
think it's
it.
gonna be something along the lines of like the Google glasses or whatever.
Oh, did you see
Like, you're not even have to carry.
Did you see the next version of that already?
Uh-uh.
They're contacts.
What's that?
Google Glass contacts.
Wow.
Oh no, yeah, they actually just got
Yeah.
greenlit for that.
Yeah,
wow.
The what is it? The
I don't remember
Federal
what
Bureau.
it was called. I only saw a blurb about it, and I didn't remember to read the article. I was
Yeah,
working,
the
but-
one that the health board that approves drugs.
Mhm.
What is it? The
FDA.
FDA. Yeah, they're the ones that had to approve it, and they gave them the green light
Of
to
course
do
they
it.
did, because they got a big fat sack of money.
So instead of Google Glass, it's now going to be Google Contact Lens. So that is awesome.
All right, get off the subject
Yeah.
real quick. It comes to mind. I got to tell you a Pittsburgh story.
Okay.
Go for it.
Growing up, one of the greatest privileges I had was having my grandfather take me on the 51C Port Authority bus over to Forbes Field every Saturday or Sunday.
The old Forbes Field.
And watching
The old
Roberto
one.
Clemente snag flies out in right field. We'd sit in the right field section and watching either Willie Stargell put one over the roof or Clemente making a catch, basket catch, and so on and so forth. Forbes Field was one of the greatest fields I've ever seen in my life. And now I've been to Wrigley. Wrigley is nice. I have not been to Fenway yet, which
Okay.
I'd like to do, or Yankee Stadium, but it's, again, still,
Yeah, Wrigley's
Forbes
special.
Field was special.
Now, did-
Along with, like people would probably say, the other places in
Camden Yard.
well, the
Candlestick
Bronx.
Park and all that.
I'm trying to think of the Polo Grounds, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
And you can go on and on and on. But to me, that was one of my greatest thrills. That we'd go watch a Pirate game, and then we'd come back, and we hit every tavern on the bus stop routes.
Yeah.
And my grandfather would say, "Oh, I got to stop here for a second."
Hell yeah.
And we stop in. He'd have a beer. I'd have a Coke, which is a terrible downfall for me, drinking all these Coca-Colas as I had. It's eventually caught up with me with health-wise, but I'm not going to get into that. But at the same time, there was a story, and I got to tell you this: the last Pirate game at Forbes Field. Danny Murtaugh, the manager of the Pirates, decided that he didn't want Roberto Clemente to get injured anymore. So he molded the right field cement wall that was molded in brick and stuff. He molded it in styrofoam, and he painted it green to still look like the image of the wall. And I had a piece of that styrofoam off the wall. I went to the bus stop right there on Forbes, and the bus, of course, is packed. And here I am, just by myself in this piece of green wall, styrofoam wall that I wanted to take home so bad. But I had to also get home. So the bus driver looks at me, he goes, "It's either you or that piece of styrofoam. Now what's it going to be?" And I left the styrofoam at the bus stop, jumped on the bus, and that's one thing I regret to this day. But that was a classic moment that I remember. And the other one is the water slide park that was built there called Sandcastle. The first time I went down the slide, I swear to God, when I'm standing up above on that slide, I look over, I can see back to the Mess Machine Company, my grandfather, a ghost of my grandfather standing there, just shaking his head. Can't believe that a water park was built on his grounds.
There was
on
a
grounds.
big.
And he worked in the foundry for 40 years.
There was a big fight to keep Forbes Field, wasn't there? Because Three Rivers was basically, turned out to be a hunk of shit. Like,
Well, yeah, but the evolution of the University of Pittsburgh and its grounds there, sandwiched in between the Carnegie Museum and more grounds for the University of Pittsburgh to expand, they had to expand. And therefore, because they had to expand, they wanted to go back to the old Exposition Park site, which PNC Park is basically built around right now.
Which is actually really nice.
Right, and the multi-purpose stadium of Three River Stadium, which I had the pleasure of watching many a game, working there during the World Series in '71 as a Coke vendor, Zum Zum vendor as we were called back then, and then being on the field later on, working for a production company, television production company called TPC, and being there during the glory days in '74 and '75 for the Steelers Super Bowl, and having Mean Joe Green and throw Gatorade at me, knowing Lynn Swan, being on third base box for Pirate games, setting up a camera on third base box, and then all of a sudden I've got Rose, Morgan, Cepeda, Sparky Anderson, Johnny Bench, all there for the Reds, clowning around with me.
That's awesome.
And these are all Hall of Famers, and it's, you say to yourself, wow, that's it. So, then I moved to Florida in '76, and the rest, they say, is history here.
Looking, that was a good transfer, though.
Because I got this guy next to me.
The television thing, maybe you want to jump on kind of how local TV news has changed within the past 30 years.
Well, it's a basic, and as I talked about the cable earlier,
Right.
I think every town in America had cable systems that were local and small when they started out, before they started getting gobbled up.
Right.
But in television really changed when CNN came to market. When Ted Turner decided
24-hour news.
Yeah.
CNN was going to hit the market in 24-hour news. Everybody, because in New York they had New York One being developed, and you were going to be your one-man band, so to speak, the person who's going to write your story, produce your story, shoot the story, and be on camera all at the same time.
Yeah, that had to be a kind of a mindfuck for everyone. Like the whole 24-hour news thing. Like,
Absolutely.
oh no, I
It
get
was.
all my news in 1 hour after
was.
dinner. Like that's. When
But
the
but
news
because
is,
of
like,
the Turner Broadcasting System having a national station, and then Chicago jumped on with WGN. They decided the format of having 24-hour, the cable news network being international and having that enveloped into American everyday life changed television for what it was worth. Because then once you had that, the local TV then had to step up their game.
Yeah, but it's funny that you mentioned that, though, because the format of local television did change to kind of emulate the CNN thing. But CNN was given that 24-hour blanket to go in-depth in stories, and they covered a lot of stories. And then you saw local news trying to cover a ton of stories real quick, and it seemed like it went from being news of the community to crime of the community.
That's because the evolution of it, that we had to compete with the cable news network, so we had to give you more news.
Yes.
Well, with more news, we decided, and at the time when I was working here in the broadcasting industry, going live was the big thing.
Yeah.
Everybody all of a sudden got 5 live trucks and a satellite truck, and everybody had to start going live.
And then they were doing look lives, so they were essentially
so you could
lying
be
to
everywhere.
the public. Yeah,
So you could
everything
be
was a
everywhere.
look live.
Like they wanted
We're
to make
live
sure
here
that,
on scene. Bullshit. They're on their way back to the station. We know they're not the live.
but the presence to try to not fool the American public, but try to show to the American public or the local public that we were everywhere.
Yeah.
And I have to say this, that the ad campaign that Channel 9 used in the late '70s, Eyewitness News is Everywhere. That was a creative marketing move that they put out. Still holds true in Central Florida news today, because that campaign is still being used, and people who grew up with just a television with an antenna, they had the strongest towered signal out there in Bithlo,
Right.
that could produce the strongest signal in Central Florida, and therefore the poorest person who watched that would always watch that television with the rabbit ears, and they could pick up Channel 9 the most. So as they grew up over the last 35 years here in Central Florida,
It became church to them.
it became church to them.
you stick
And
with
that
it,
changed local broadcasting also, because then, and they went first, when I was working with them, they went first 24 hours around the clock. They were the first ones to throw the switch. I was there when General Manager Walter Windsor was there with Lawrence Welk, and we threw the switch to go 24 hours. And we had, but we didn't have 24-hour news. We had 24-hour programming, which then afforded everybody to start rethinking how we were going to do news and where we were going to do it. We're going to do morning shows. We're going to have a noon show. We're going to maybe go live 5:30 leading into 6. We're going to do more weather. We're going to be on 11. Now the independents go on at 10.
Was there one that was doing every 15 minutes or something?
And the cable companies, and of course you've got your local, cable, Central Florida News 13, and their weather on the ones, and so all these little hooks and gimmicks have blown everything out. And once the major networks started 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, all of a sudden changed the game here because everybody had to do more news, more news. And it's gotten to a point now where everything is news.
What was it like up in Juliet, though? Like, what was it like in the Midwest? TV news growing up?
We just had WGN.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Honestly, I mean, Channel 9. That's what it was. It was WGN. You got all. And then you had ABC, CBS. But as far as local went, I mean, you'd get your your AM radio stations and your local FM stations.
And pretty much so. You still have the 3
straight from Chicago, which was WGN.
I wanted to ask Kim before we switch over about journalism. Because you've been in the TV business since what you said, like the late '60s, right? Early '70s.
I got out of school in '73, out of broadcasting school, and once I got out of broadcasting school in '73. I still worked for the cable station. I did my own sports, had my own sports show called Ken Shuba's Sports Review. And I actually had Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris on local origination sports, like Wayne's World.
Right.
Well, it was Sports World.
Out of Aurora.
And black and white cable and dynamic cable vision Homestead. But doing that
sucks,
and working for the production company 74 through 76, I came down here in 76. And so for the past almost 38 years, I've been in local news. 6 years over at 9. I put 23 years in at 6, and out of business for a while. Then the past 7 years at Wesh.
Back in the game.
Channel 2, back in the game,
What's been the biggest change in journalism, you think? Because when I was taking journalism classes, I got a very different message than I don't feel like the journalism I was being taught was actually journalism.
Well, I have to say this much, and I'm very fortunate to say that at Wesh 2 News, I work with a true bunch of journalistic professionals. I think we have the most that I've ever worked with. These men and women that are on TV today, I would say 85 to 90% of them could be journalism professors, and a couple have been at schools, major schools across the country, because they know their stuff and they know how to do it well. And I'll just throw out a few more names, but I've had the pleasure of working with over 20 people who have made network news and have become journalists on network news. One of the best, though, in the business as a journalist, I would have to say that I worked with was Tony Pipitone, who was at 6, and he's now an investigative reporter in Miami.
He just moved to Miami,
right? But I mean, there's so many. I mean, I can name drop like you wouldn't believe. And,
you've got Pat Clark at
right off the bat, I don't want to offend anybody by not mentioning anybody who's a journalist, but someone who taught journalism, Greg Fox. I just throw his name out there at our station. And journalism has changed because of the approach of news. Mm-hmm. And when you had only 3 stations in Chicago, if it wasn't for WGN, you still had CNN. Mm-hmm. CNN was the other ones. And once you started getting cable in that area, and I have to say this much, Orlando and Florida specifically, but California and New York, those 3 states, even over Illinois, are much more advanced in communications than all the other states in the union. And I mean,
all the top market shares are there.
Yeah, well,
there's no division.
And I'm sure Texas too, because you go the larger states and so on and so forth. But at the same time, in Chicago, though, they still have a wealth and a huge amount of people. And the only reason why I'm tossing back Illinois is because my daughter now lives up there.
Oh, okay.
And we go back, Corey's sister, and when we go back when we visit her now and her new family up there, and I watch television up there. If it wasn't for the dishes or the AT&Ts, U-verses, or whatever it is coming into your home, you really still wouldn't be in touch as much as you would be down here.
Pierogies?
Pierogies, yeah.
Pierogies,
I know about
the Warsaw. The
yeah.
pierogies.
Oh, Warsaw.
There it is.
The old Warsaw, the best restaurant, best Polish restaurant in the country.
Swear to
By the
Christ,
way-
we get off the plane. He's like,
I gotta have the
Warsaw,
sweet
where
cheese.
we going? Pierogies,
Sweet,
yeah.
hey, sweet cheese pierogies.
Let me tell you
Warsaw.
something.
Oh, to die for.
I did not like living in Pittsburgh. I loved eating in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's good food.
Every day after if I was done powerlifting, we would go eat Polish food.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
Sauerkraut,
ring of kielbasa,
ring of kielbasa.
Dude, I made kielbasa sauerkraut the other day.
Yeah, I saw that online.
pierogies with cheese and onions.
Yeah.
Fried or sautéed in the pan.
Yeah.
And then dollop with sour cream on top.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's some good eating, eh?
Yes.
I like some kielbasa. Hey, I wanted to hear you shit on
Hold on.
documentaries.
Oh yeah, we'll
Yeah.
jump on that in a second. Hold on, real quick. It's funny that you said that you grew up with WGN News because we had that in our local television. My whole life, I grew up watching Chicago news because it was always on. It was always on our network,
Right.
and the best thing about that network is they aired every Cubs game.
Yeah, my buddy Will grew up down here. He's
Yeah.
he's a Cubs fan.
Yeah.
Because of WGN.
Right. Oh, yeah.
He moved to Joliet. He's
Right.
done like the majority of my tattoos, and like
Yeah.
we started talking the one day, and I was like, "How the fuck did you come to be a Cubs fan from
Yeah.
Florida?" He goes, "WGN."
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's like,
Every
"Hell yeah!" He's
single
like, "I
day.
watched every Cubs game,
Yeah,
every
man.
fucking one of them."
Well, I'm disappointed now because they love the White Sox so much that they're giving up the Cubs
yeah.
next
really?
year because the Cubs aren't winning. They want a team
The Cubs
that.
will never win.
Yeah.
like that's just how it is.
Yeah.
I guess what I wanted to do. I guess I'm shitting on documentaries. It's because you can't really make a documentary, or if it's not popular, if you don't have an axe to grind. And I guess that's my problem with like the major network journalists.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't like opinion in journalism.
Right. You want facts.
Yeah.
I honestly just want the news, and I don't like. Listen, there's some great broadcasters on. I don't know if they're great, but I really liked Keith Olbermann
Yeah.
because of his prose.
Mhm.
There's no writer in the country like Keith Olbermann.
No.
Compared to no one can touch him.
No.
Maybe Garrison Keillor, if you ever read The Old Scout, he's an incredible, but he does he's got that old, like that mopey,
Mhm.
old-timey radio voice, which bugs the shit out of me. I
Totally
love
agree.
Garrison
I could
Keillor.
talk about 10 or 20 of them, but
Yeah.
there's no need for me to go into it because we could spend all night on
Well,
this topic. But
I
at
don't-
the same time,
Yeah.
and not to get off of documentaries again,
Right.
because when you look, and thank God for cable, because there are so many networks that do documentaries and documentaries well. And because they do that as a service, that's what's good about cable. But the other bad side of it is all these reality shows
Right.
that have made people stars in
Oh,
today's
God.
society that have no business being there. But then again, you got to say that you can go back into the decades and say, well, that's what MTV did. And
Right.
if it wasn't for MTV, it made a whole bunch of other musical groups become stars that never had a chance or should have done that.
Right.
So
I think with the documentary thing, they're just getting too.
Well,
They're too popular. Like,
Well,
like it just seems like the
culturally-
go-to kind of thing. Like
Well, it's because like if you hate this country, but you say you love it, you make a documentary about it, and all of a sudden you get this like automatic edge.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. I'm like we have problems, but like the underlying theme is everything is bad, but I'm pointing it out, so that makes me good, right? Like you
Right.
can almost hear that snark.
well,
And they're-
well, Roger Moore
So
though.
you're-
Roger Moore started,
Michael Moore.
Michael-
or Michael Moore. I'm sorry.
Michael Moore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that who you're speaking
Which,
about?
no. Well, if you look at Netflix, all the documentaries are like, look at how shitty this is.
Yeah.
And I don't like cynicism, and I don't like pessimism.
But,
even though
you
I'm
know-
being
Yeah,
blunt.
Roger Moore was
Here-
Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem with
Goldfinger.
Michael Moore is
Um,
that like he doesn't have journalistic integrity.
But the
I
thing
like-
is I think the angle though, I think his approach when he was doing it, at
Right.
first was the ugly underbelly of the truth, and
to me,
and you're right. It is.
in
Look how
journalism,
shitty
the
this
ends
is.
don't justify the means.
Well, it
Right,
used to,
but
they
it-
used to
the
take,
whole
but
story, the true
The
story.
lie is what he was talking about.
they used to take a
But
stand.
he
It's the-
lied
it's
to
the-
do it. though.
it's
Yeah,
the-
well,
it's-
you're
it's-
right about
he's
that. They
paid-
did take a stand.
They
like-
used to take a stand. Like it used
Yeah.
to, like Bowling for Columbine,
Yeah.
shit like
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
now it's fucking
Listen,
beard wars.
That one,
Yeah.
Like they're documentaries about
Yeah.
about these hipster dicks who grow their beard all big and put tea tree oil in it.
the
and shit. It's like,
documentary
shut
that
up.
he made about the healthcare system
Mhm.
was brilliant,
Yes.
without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
Fahrenheit 911. It's
Well,
full
Well, you
of
take
really-
you take an
Yeah.
education level to a whole new level,
Yeah.
but then when you start bringing in aspects of life that really are unimportant, and still they try to make it important
Right.
to us all, that's when you curve the line.
Yeah.
And then you say to yourself, well, what? And then your own moral judgments come into play here.
Right.
Of what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, what should we believe, what should we not believe, and it all rolls into our own upbringings and what we felt like as a kid to a point to what we're learning and know as an adult, and
Yeah.
how you share that. Some of this stuff is just crap. It's
It
to
is.
fill airwaves and to keep
Right.
corporations going.
Right, and even
To
take
me-
a step back really quick, like how I said, it has to have like a stance. Like that Jiro Dreams of Sushi
Yeah.
Right.
didn't really have a stance,
No.
but it was the story it told was,
Right.
was great. It was amazing. Like you know, he owns this small little sushi shop in a subway, and
Yeah.
And that's what I said. Education. You learn.
yeah,
That goes
just
any.
that little aspect of life. It you know kind of brings some humanity. That
Well, and that goes with any type of show on network, on the networks, on the cables, anywhere from the show called How It's Made,
I love that shit.
yeah,
I watch
to
that
Chopped or Unwrapped, to watching what's our boat one?
Deadliest
here?
Catch.
Deadliest Catch.
Yeah.
Docudramas. Real life situations. Of course, it's all doctored up. It's all
It's
produced. It's
scriptuality, yeah.
all cut in half, and it's basic for entertainment. But the thing remains with this, whether it's Honey Boo Boo or the
yeah.
Kardashians or anything, you got to realize that these are things that we don't normally see in our lifetime.
And
Yeah.
you know what? We should.
And
always
those
see
who
it.
keep tuning in,
Well, you shouldn't
keep
see
tuning in
everything.
though, are those who are in the curious factor. I mean, journalism started the decline, and I'm not going to say good or bad
Right.
against this person, Jerry Springer, but once Jerry
Yeah.
Springer came out with his programming that he did,
He was genius.
he set a precedence
He was.
of curiosity
Right.
Yeah.
that changed the American public for good.
He was
I
the
would-
Howard Stern
yeah.
of television.
Because
He
we
was
all
genius.
wanted to see what was going to happen next
Right.
with the freakiest
went.
kind of freak that you ever wanted to
It was
see.
okay.
Is there-
Here's the thing with that.
Now you're gonna,
He
Don't we
they
want to turn that
developed
clock back
they-
a little bit on that though?
they
Like,
they developed a formula that was interesting to a sect of people who didn't have a job, that were at home at 10:30 in the morning watching television for hours on end, and that
You
group, that focus group,
Moms.
moms and people who didn't work.
Men
Moms
and
and
well,
people
men
who
and
don't
women
work.
Sorry, moms.
And
I
then
didn't
what they
No,
did
men
is
and women
they
both.
they brought other people who didn't work on the television with these erroneous fucking problems
Right.
and made them fight.
well,
You
that's
have Fight
because
Club
also
on
there was
television.
the 9 to 5 job had dissolved.
right.
Everybody was working every shift just to stay alive.
Yeah.
And because of that,
Right.
they came up with different things to make it curious for people to watch at different times of the day or night. And once they did that, that opened up the can of worms. Journalism went by the wayside. Everything else came into play. And that's what we got as a current viewing session today on anything that you want to put your 57 channels on. And,
You know what I don't understand is
nothing's really on.
I don't understand the fascination and the popularity of the court shows.
Oh,
Can someone
garbage.
explain that to me? That shit is
I
so
don't get it
boring
either.
to me. Like
Well-
the Judge Judy's, and there's like 50 of them. There's like unbelievable amount of like
Yeah,
the
three-
People's Court.
5
Dun dun
minutes
dun.
longer.
They're fucking boring.
5 minutes long.
And I just don't understand what the fascination
To me,
is, and
like-
people eat it up.
The underlying theme is to expose some shitty aspect of a person
and revel in someone else's misfortune.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. I'm really sick and tired of it. Like
Yeah.
really sick. I want to like. There's a whole generation of people. I mean, I guess I don't. I'm probably a little older than the generation I'm talking about, who are just they're wasting their lives on the worst. I mean, the most destructive culture I think we've ever had. Like we revel in the lowest common denominator, like these Kardashian fucks.
Oh god.
And I think that we could compete with the best of Europe in Asia if we stop being so pessimistic and stop like Earl Shriving these fucking retards. I know retard is probably not a good word to use.
Fuck it, who cares?
It's okay.
Fucking retard.
They are.
Retard tranny.
Like, there's got to be people doing good things out there. I would be interested to see what those people are doing. I don't want to see some chick who had sex with a D-list star is now, selling perfume to tweens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's innovating? Who's out there trying to compete and make something of themselves? That's who I want to see.
Well, that's how shallow the society has gotten.
Yeah, I don't like it.
But at the same point in time, and even with, and I'll say the generational shift here between my generation and his generation, is that some things are accepted and some things are not accepted. If you know the level of education from your own morality of what you want to enter into your mind and what you know is morally right in your lifetime,
right,
then you accept it. If you don't want to accept it, you always have that choice of tuning it out.
Right.
I mean, that's the biggest thing with programming being rammed down your throat today, is that you have the power to turn on or turn off. I think the biggest word I'll use again is curiosity. Because of curiosity as an emotion, it sucks us in to see what's going on no matter what.
But,
albeit, I will say this, that the entertainment program, news programs that are on the E! News, Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, and then you go on and on and on, they have blown it out of proportion just to stay alive.
Yeah.
And to go back to the final point I want to make is that all these different 57 channels that are on, they're really owned by like 4 companies.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And they're all conglomerates of all these 4 or 5 major networks that are out there.
It's all
And they're all subsidiaries of what they can put on just to stay in business and compete with the other one.
And I think just to turn the tide a little bit in this podcast, because we talked about how, I guess, the more negative aspects of culture, let's talk about where we're at on our goals, because we decided, I think, 4 weeks or maybe a month and a half ago, that we were all going to try to accomplish new goals.
Oh yeah.
You're training for the Tough Mudder.
Training for the Tough Mudder. I'm running my ass off. I can get a mile in. What's my lowest time now? 5:28.
It's really fast, sir.
Fuck yes. Running my dick off, man.
Yeah.
I'm yanking 4 plates too.
That's good. Deadlift, yeah. 4 or 5 for everyone at home.
My pull-ups have taken a slight dip.
How much weight?
405 pounds.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's kind of
Congratulations on that. I
Thank you.
just thinking about that and the cross
pinch-
training methods that you have to go through. You know
Dude,
that's
the
a feat
pinched
in
nerve in
itself.
my neck just went crazy.
It's hysterical when I say that to people, like especially at work, like big guys come in and they're all like, oh, you're a little guy, but do that and do this, and what are you doing? And I tell them, they're like,
Damn,
wow,
that's good.
Did you tell them good
shit.
technique?
Now my
Yeah,
leg
exactly.
muscles don't feel so
But,
bad.
Is that your coaching?
Huh?
You're coaching that?
No, I'm just telling you, good technique.
Okay.
No, exactly it. Like
And,
it's just, yeah. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I'm just running, doing that, sticking with my kettlebells. I'm gonna actually start working. I read an article about water training with kettlebells.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take them to the pool and swim around with them a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing the 72s in because that's too much. I promise myself.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to die.
No, I wouldn't either.
I've been
Yes.
in contact with
And just to remind people, because it's been a while, Corey wants to
get into beekeeping.
Yeah, he wants to be a beekeeper.
Just as a hobby.
Yeah.
I've been I'm waiting on paperwork actually.
Okay.
So I got stuff coming to me in the mail,
And this is
information
from-
about grants and stuff.
From the government, right?
Yeah, Orange
Okay.
County.
Orange County, okay.
So I got to look into that, and I've also been really studying the different types of hives that you can build or you can buy and purchase, And there's a company now out of Turkey that's making a brand new type of hive that's made all of plastic.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that is these older wooden boxes that they've been using for generations.
Mm-hmm.
These boxes are susceptible to different types of pesticide or parasites,
Yeah.
mold, which kills the bees,
Uh-huh.
and then just overall rot from the Florida sun.
Yeah.
They've gone to plastic boxes but what they failed to do in the past with going to plastic was they were making the plastic boxes exactly like the wooden boxes. It's a bad design for plastic, anyways. So this company out of Turkey, actually, believe it or not, this Turkish guy came up with this new type of box.
The sick man of Europe.
Well,
or it was at one time. I don't know how they're doing now.
It works almost more like a real honeycomb.
So it's shaped that way?
Sort of. It's hard to describe. It's more of like a circular box than a square box. So it's like more of a circular tube, I guess. But it's easier to maintain. It's not susceptible, and it comes with all these built-in screens too that keep parasites out. There's these different types of parasites that can come up through the bottom of a box, and then get into the honey, and it fucks up the whole hive. Like they'll abandon it. Bees are really smart. Once they're working on it, they're very efficient, I should say.
Yeah.
So like they're working on a section at a time, and if something is awry or not correct, instead of fighting it or trying to work on it or save it, they as a group move over and start doing it, start production immediately. They don't fuck around. Once something starts going bad, they move over and they start working, on the next thing, which is actually, like
I can recall one time.
once a hive starts to collapse, though, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like once a hive starts to collapse,
That could be seen as superficial, but that's fucking smart as hell.
Yeah, it is really smart.
Don't get
It's
caught
like,
up.
fuck this, yeah.
As your
Next.
parent, though, I can recall a time when you and Seth and everybody were in the backyard swimming in the little pool that we had, and you got stung by a bee, and your arm swelled up like a balloon.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you is, have you been tested to see if you're allergic to
it's-
bee stings?
I'm allergic to wasps. Not
Yeah.
bees.
Okay, well, it was a bee sting, so
No.
I thought
Casey
I
was
remember
Casey.
it being a wasp.
It was a
I
wasp.
remember being.
I
a
got
wasp.
stung by a wasp. Casey was the one that got stung in the face by the bee.
I do
we were
remember
little.
that too. Yeah.
It was a bee that got Casey. I was stung by a wasp though.
I'll have to go back and look on the DVDs.
Yeah.
He's got all that
Watch
shit
you
on
guys,
DVD. I'm
watch
not
you
joking.
guys in sack races in the back.
Oh yeah.
Those were the
Funniest ones, but
Yeah.
those birthday parties.
Where are you at?
So I guess I'll make one of my announcements. So, I guess I've been up for everyone. Just to remember, I'm training for a strongman competition in November. So I'll probably have to do a deadlift 700 pounds probably because
Now
Strongman.
deadlift is from the ground and you stand up
right,
and you just hold it. Yeah.
because I'll
And
be
it's the bar's like in between your knees and your
Right.
hips, right?
Yeah.
I'll be deadlifting a Toyota Corolla essentially.
I gotcha.
And I can remember the Phil Hartman Saturday Night Live skit, whereas he's picking him up
He
in the arms.
rips his arms off. Yeah.
Look what he's done in the competition!
Yeah, that's good.
So I've had bad knots in my back, and I've been bitching about it for a long time, and I've been gaining weight probably for the last 7-8 months. So I went and got tested last week, and it turns out I'm not really making testosterone anymore.
Oh, really?
Wow.
It's a problem.
Yeah, it is.
The good news is I got I can have TRT, so I'm getting prescribed TRT, which is to everyone at home that's testosterone replacement therapy. And if you know anything about TRT, is that it's really insanely good. Like,
Is it?
it is.
Is it like
So that's what everybody's
HGH?
after.
no,
It's pure test.
It's pure testosterone.
Okay.
But
But you got to
it's-
be really careful about that though, because that's super bad.
You're
for
going
your
to
abs.
rub it underneath your arm as
Yeah,
No,
you can't.
I'm getting
You
the-
can't have any contact.
No,
with it
I
at all
don't.
whatsoever, right?
No, I'm getting the good stuff. I'm not getting the cream.
Oh.
I'm getting the injection.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
shit.
Like I'm getting the top of the line testosterone.
Great. That means within the next couple shows, he's gonna kick one of our asses.
I'm-
What the fuck you say to me, man? What the fuck, bro?
Truly gonna have a
I'm ready to
2-pound
go.
dick,
I better
yeah.
eat a
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
steak. I'm gonna come after you. I'm gonna rip your head off, brother.
So
I just turned
finally,
into the Hulk. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
I
I'm
should
sorry.
probably lose the fat I gained, hopefully, and it'll make me. I'm already even with no testosterone, I'm crazy strong. So I can't wait to have testosterone again.
Well, good luck on that.
Thank you.
I was gonna say actually one of my big pet peeves right now is people asking me how to increase testosterone. Like how do I get more testosterone?
You don't.
Like,
If
well,
your body doesn't
you can,
make it, you don't.
There's a couple things you can do. You can
Is it like serotonin?
you eat really well
Like
and you
once
lift,
you're
you
out
lift
of it,
really
you're out of
heavy,
it?
and your body
Yeah.
will make more testosterone. Like as long as you have those two things, like eat good food, lift. Like
But
you'll do it.
what people want, but they want
to increase their levels to like 1,000%.
Right,
And
like
the only
I
way
want
you can do
steroids
that is
without taking steroids.
exactly. That's the only way you can do it. is
Right.
steroids.
And the beauty is, I'm not like this TRT. It's not steroids because steroids are made by bodybuilders and these
Yeah.
makeshift labs.
Yeah.
I'm getting like this. PhDs went to school for years to make the shit they're going to put in me,
Right.
and it's super serum. I'm getting Captain America super serum.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting.
Look how happy you
You're
are.
fucking right.
So stoked. He's so stoked.
You gonna
It's
share?
awesome.
You gonna share?
And what's the second announcement, buddy?
Me and Tara over there are tying the knot next week.
Oh yeah!
Hey!
Holy shit! Congratulations, dude.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're going to get him to shave his beard, right? Oh, okay. Well, then never mind.
Yeah.
Never
That's
mind.
amazing, dude. Way to go. Where are you guys doing
Oh,
there
yeah.
at?
Courthouse.
Courthouse?
Oh
yeah.
shit! Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to swing
And
by
some of us. Are you gonna invite a motherfucker?
All right.
to the courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a witness, right?
That's
Where's,
great.
where's the
You,
reception? Where are we
fantastic.
going?
Wow.
If you want to, I think we're doing it this Thursday.
What time?
I'm getting my prescription at 2, and then we're gonna go to the courthouse after that.
Okay, cool.
So I'll let you know if you're around.
Yeah, I work downtown, so I can
Pop in.
be there. I would love to be there.
I'll tell Mike
Yeah.
not to fuck off. I'll show up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to show up too?
Oh,
yeah, man.
Alright, yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, congrats.
Very good. Congrats.
Aw.
Stoked. All right, I have questions, but it'll be off the air.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Do you have any questions for me, being on your 50th?
yeah. How did you
Yeah.
put up with me for all those years? God,
I,
I don't even.
Yes, other-
as a father, you
Hey,
learn
you
to
might as
put
well stick
these.
around. We're gonna wrap
Oh,
up.
we're gonna wrap up.
You learn to put up with a lot of things that your kids do, but
Yeah.
you love them, so you're always going to support them and do the best and do the right thing. So you can put up with whatever little crap that they do.
Yeah.
It's the big crap they try to get around and get away with, but no, we've been through that rodeo too, so we know exactly how to look at that.
You guys, anything else? I wanted to bring up the Malaysia thing only because
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing, but
It is.
we can save it for another night.
I have something really quick. I got reverse tendered.
No, did you really?
Reverse tendered.
How did that happen?
A girl came into my bar
Mm-hmm.
and was talking to me, and we had a great conversation, whatever. And then like 3 days later, doing the swipey left, swipey right thing, and swipe right, and all of a sudden it matched, and I got a message within like 2 seconds, like, "Hey, I was in your bar, blah blah blah."
Yeah,
Huh.
she stalked you.
She found me on
Tinder.
the random website. Yes.
Yeah.
How fucking weird is that?
That's kind of cool, but it's kind of like single white female.
Yeah,
It's
a little
crazy.
bit.
It's
A little bit.
It's a little bit.
She's like, run away.
I did want to get into your adventures in Tinder.
Oh, God.
You know what? Let's just take a break
Let's take
and
a
we'll come
break.
back because I do want to talk about this
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay,
So
and I want to ask Ken about fistfights in Pittsburgh during the 60s and 70s.
he played hockey, so he's got
How-
some stories.
I watched 3 fights at Golden Gloves too on the south side.
Let me.
That's what I want to talk. Cause,
1-1,
Yeah.
lost 1, was a draw. The third fight,
Yeah.
quit after that. Got into baseball
Yeah.
heavily with American Legion ball and so many different things that keep me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Because I could have been in trouble very easily in my youth from my upbringing and what I had to deal with. So.
It's a rough city. Pittsburgh can be.
I think it's amazing how like organized
manly
violence can
dudes.
keep you out of
Yeah.
trouble.
Okay,
Yeah. We'll come back.
we'll take a break. Hang on.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What are you playing?
Horse feathers. It's because it's just easy.
Gotcha.
You better beat me to the bathroom, sir. I'm headed that way.
Oh, go ahead.
Or we could cross swords.
No,
whatever you want to do.
I'm crossing the streams. It's bad.
That's great news. Congratulations. That's great news.
Yeah, it is, right? Yeah, I'm into it.
Thanks, Penny.
I bet
you are.
Into it.
I have a new addiction too.
Uh-oh.
It's this Japanese weird pop metal band called Baby Metal.
I hate them so
Oh
much.
my God, I don't know why I like it.
I hate it.
I don't know
hate
why
it
I like
so
it.
much. You know why?
It makes me
Because
happy.
it's the crossover from everything that I hate in pop music, and they're trying to interject
Everything
it in
you
my
love in
fucking
metal.
I hate it.
But it's so.
Get up, give me another.
It makes me so happy. Like it's so upbeat.
Okay, so off the air,
Thank you.
and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Are we getting married because we're pregnant?
No, we're not pregnant.
Okay. I am a huggable guy, so I will hug.
Hey!
Yeah, you're in the family now.
Yeah.
You're in.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no preggers yet.
Okay.
No little ones. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah. At least you accept the beard. That's what counts.
Yeah, I love this beard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I really like having it.
I like it.
Feels good.
Good for you. Not only am I glad, I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I never thought it would happen either, I'll be honest with you.
We got a
Done
good
well.
one too. Lucky son of a bitch.
I know, right?
Oh,
That's great, great news. The parents know?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Good.
We're gonna take our honeymoon up to North Carolina,
Okay.
stay with the folks.
that'll be fun.
So why such a quick decision? Was it just like,
Um,
do you, yes, do you, let's just fucking do it?
yeah. I'm not really like a ceremony type of guy, you know,
And then,
I am.
so, I don't know. I'm not religious, so that kind of, no priest or anything like that, I didn't need that kind of ceremony.
That's kind of how I was with Nancy.
Yeah.
I had off and on dated her for 3 years. Of course, being a disco DJ, I had a lot of female fraternizing going on.
Weren't you Bachelor of the Year or something?
I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
1978.
Yeah.
Anyhow, #1 club DJ, Bachelor of the Year, all that stuff. Anyhow,
We gotta talk about that on the podcast.
oh no.
No, we don't.
That could be a whole episode in itself. But anyhow, after off and on dating for 3 years, for about 4 months straight, we couldn't get out of each other's hair. I would always end up going to the apartment complex where her and Teresa Ray at the time, were roommates. And I would always be bopping over to their apartment from my schedule because I was working morning shift. So I get off at 2:30 in the afternoon. And from 2:30 till they got off basically from whatever they were doing till like 5:30 or 6, I'm hanging out at the pool, having a great time. Then they'd come in and I'd either, bring some pizza over or get some food, or we'd run to McDonald's, or they would decide to try to make some food and experiment for me to eat, so on and so forth. And one thing led to another, to a point where as I just got tired of everything and said to myself, I'm tired of doing all this shit. I just want to settle down. And I went to Pizza Hut one night and got a
I
ring,
appreciate that.
put the ring in the middle of the pizza box, and we just got our first color TV, just hooked up to HBO. One of the first movies was Fort Apache, the Bronx, with Ken Wall and Paul Newman. And decided we'll watch the new color TV we had in my little duplex there on Park Lake in Marks, downtown. And said, open up, get some pizza for me. She opened up the box and saw the ring and started crying. And she goes, and starts crying. And I got down on one knee and I said, will you marry me? I'm tired of screwing around. She took care of me 2 weeks before that. I got all 4 of my molars out. She was the only girl out of all the 5 girls that I was dating at the time to come by to see if I was okay. And she nursed me back down. So I'm saying to my mind, this is it. This is the woman for me. For all the other, girls. Plus she was gorgeous and only 100 pounds. And back in the disco days, I mean, that was, she could dance with the best of us.
Oh yeah? That I didn't know.
My mom was a fucking club kid, man.
So,
She was
so
it.
to me, it
You
wasn't
met
a
back
real,
right? Or-
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
and it wasn't a real, it was a long, if you want to string it all together, it was a long courtship, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was.
And it was chopped, and But then, you know, those 4 months were really concentrated
Yeah.
to a point where, you know, I'm tired of the whole scene.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted, and all those little things that happened for reasons, and it fell into place. And
It actually tastes better
That's how it happened.
when it gets a little bit warm.
so when you know it's right, it's right. That's as simple as it. When it's time, it doesn't matter. You know, we didn't get married in a church. We got married in the Ray's house. They're on Hiawassee, which at the time, before they put the big thoroughfare through and, you know, the old interchanges and all that stuff, that was a backcountry house. That was a backcountry road. And, we got married in front of their giant, they had their giant room like this. I mean, they had a ranch to house, so there was like a giant, you come in off the garage and come through the door, and then there's this giant living room. There was the kitchen and the giant living room like this, and then another room and a dining room and so on and so on. So we got married in front of the fireplace there. It was a very simple ceremony, justice of the peace. We invited, you know, her side of the family, my side of the family, and her friends and a few of the friends that I knew. And my best friend Bill came down from Pittsburgh, and Bill was the best man, and that's as simple as that as it got. She had her wedding dress that she had, and I was just coming off, I was sick. I was just coming off hepatitis A from eating some raw oysters over in Cocoa.
There you go.
And I
So I
still
was-
eat raw oysters.
That's how I like to get my
Parents came down
hepatitis.
from Pittsburgh, or they moved down here?
Well, my father died, and my father died. Hi. My father died, and my mother remarried, and my stepdad, but he didn't come down at the time, and she came down with my grandmother, and my best friend Bill came down,
Danny's girlfriend.
and it was a simple ceremony. You know, we dressed up for the occasion, but I was still high on antibiotics and standing there with eyes glazed and at a temperature of about 101,
Wow.
and saying my I do's. But it was a simple ceremony that you know, was heartfelt,
Yeah.
and it was really. I thought, you know, didn't need to be big and elaborate.
Black IPAs.
It was a true meaning in how we felt, and it was quickly put together, but it was stylish in the way we put it together. And Nancy's friends, Susie Nipper at the time.
Well, Nancy's from here, right? She's from Florida?
No, she was born in Boston
Really?
and raised in Mentor, Ohio.
I didn't know that.
And
I'm also from Boston.
well, her mother's from Boston, her father's from Cincinnati, and no, they moved down here when she was in middle school, and her dad worked for. Hi, how you doing?
This is my father, and Danny's girlfriend Jessica.
Nice to meet you.
She's moving in next month, so she's also a roommate.
Oh, okay, very good.
Soon to be. Yeah.
I'm their special
Nice to meet
guest.
everybody else. Hi. I'm Tara. Tara, nice to meet you.
Nice
to
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
And
Yours
this
up?
is-
I'm Ken.
Seth.
Oh, Seth. Oh,
And
okay.
this is
Yeah, hi. Nice to meet you.
it's the podcast.
Oh.
The dinner school.
So you guys are gonna do it? You're done?
No, we got one more segment.
One
We're
more
gonna
segment.
we're just taking a break.
It's the 50th, so they invited me as a special guest.
That was really nice.
Yes, I think it was special. So.
Wow. So you guys are all doing it? You're all speaking?
Well,
No,
Tara's
you're
off to the
just-
side.
I'm
She's
watching.
a guest, but
Yeah, she just watches. How was
Okay.
dinner?
Oh yeah, dinner. I forgot we had dinner. Dinner was good, and then the imperial was fantastic. Like an antique store.
Right.
It was awesome. It was nice to meet you guys.
okay, pleasure.
How do you feel about spiders?
I'm okay with it.
Like that big?
Yeah. Is this like a banana spider?
Yeah.
But But it was simple. It wasn't meant to be elaborate. It wasn't, I mean, we put it all together because we wanted to make it simple, but make it a little fashionable at the same time.
From my fingertips to my elbows.
Is that music still playing, or is it over? Or?
Hey Corey, what's the situation with the music?
What?
Is it still playing?
Yeah, it's just rolling.
Okay.
It's a 45 minute.
Oh, shouldn't we get back to the podcast?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll be back.
I say, my friend Seth spent $60,000 on his wedding, divorced 5 years later. Like, there's no way that you can afford that kind of ceremony anymore.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna do it at the courthouse,
I see chalices up there.
which is,
Camel spiders remind me of the movie Aliens, the baby aliens.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
camel spiders
I'm not-
remind me of why.
I'm not cool
I-
with that.
Yeah,
That you don't live in the desert?
yeah. Fuck the desert. Fuck camel spiders.
Yeah.
They're terrifying.
Fuck that noise.
Yeah.
They just freak you out.
No, I kill them with my bare hands.
But
Yeah.
they're just big.
Dude, I'm so stoked for you, bro.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations, man. That's really awesome.
I got bit by something. I was asleep.
Really, really
On
awesome.
my hand. And
I think I actually remember seeing this picture.
On the shelf.
Yeah.
What?
Look at that flyaway hair, man.
I couldn't.
My dad's
it was
hockey
so
hair.
weird.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See, but it was simple. It was
Son of a bitch has way more hair. Had way more. I have way less hair than he did at this
Yeah.
age.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my brother,
And,
my older brother Jeff, is completely bald.
Oh, here's a picture I was going to put on Throwback Thursday. Me with the camera that I recorded all you guys in the backyard.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I haven't seen that picture.
See, my
Oh,
folks
hell yeah.
never
That's
picture
my
takers.
dad at our age.
See, I wish my parents were picture takers, and they never were.
It's a smooth, stone cold motherfucker. Okay.
So,
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
So
Thanks
simple
for
it was.
sharing, dude. It's really, I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, we
No
just,
problem.
she had her dress, I had my suit, they dressed up. They were like, just us, and that was it. And we did it. And
that's back when people
we're
had
there,
style.
we're there.
It's too bad that we didn't know about this sooner. I could have went and got my ordained minister thing on, and then
I was thinking about that,
legally
See?
marry you guys.
but I did.
It was just simple. I mean, they set up a cake. You saw the photo.
Yeah, I was there.
I was thinking about that, but
Yeah,
then
you were there.
I'm not a ceremony guy. You know what I mean? Like, I want this to be as simple and.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, let's go. Let's continue.
What was the topic we wanted to jump
I
into?
wanted to talk about fistfights
Okay.
in Pittsburgh. Because I did a little boxing.
That's
house
that. There was a code back then. Now, right? Matt's mic's gonna be live, so.
Uh-oh. So my mic's live, and I shouldn't talk about
Just don't say anything racist.
Nothing about Jews.
nothing about Jews, but blacks and
Yeah.
everything else is fine. All
That's another thing I want to talk about in Pittsburgh.
right. Blacks?
No, it's like
there were blacks in Pittsburgh.
yeah, if you've ever been to the Hills District, you'll see them alive and live in color,
Well, they
Yeah,
have their
I
own
love that
section
show.
of town, the Hill District.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
here we go. I'm going back.
which I ended up in accidentally, and then immediately went.
But there were a lot
You
of
were on
Homestead,
Living
too.
Color?
You ever seen movies like where there are trash can fires and dudes standing around them like singing doo wop?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was called Rockdale, Illinois.
Yeah, that's the Hills District, except they're not singing doo wop. They're like, "Where's a white man so I can kick his ass because this is awful and I need a scapegoat right now."
Okay, so rolling into the next topic, you want to do talk about street fights or just
No,
fights,
fist fights in
fist fights
Pittsburgh.
in general?
Because there's a tradition in Pittsburgh. It's a boxing city. But people know about the Steelers. They know about the Pirates and the Penguins. What they don't know is how many old-time boxing champions they had.
Golden Glove type fighters.
Pros like Harry Greb and oh my God, there's two other really big boxers. I can't think of their names now.
Frankie something. I'm trying
Yeah.
to think of his name, too.
But still, like tons of hole-in-the-wall boxing places. And while I was there, I boxed at World Class Boxing with Tom Yankello,
Mhm.
who's the current trainer of Roy Jones Jr.
Oh, really?
And I know it was even bigger back I think probably when you were a teenager, right? Boxing was still pretty big.
Boxing was big, yeah. I actually fought Golden Gloves and at the Y for I had 3 matches, but anyhow, everybody, that was kind of like an escapism for people to, I mean, you had the big brother type situation every once in a while, but there was more, because there's still organized crime that was prevalent, that people really didn't think was around, but it was still around in the 60s, and
The Sackos were notorious.
well, I'm just saying though, there were times when people would go around breaking thumbs. That was the catchphrase. I'm going to break your thumb. People were breaking thumbs because they had loans. There were loan sharks there, and
Crazy.
the numbers game still exists today. The numbers.
It's a sports town.
Yeah, but
The bookies.
the bookies still exist in Pittsburgh today.
Yeah.
Because even though it's called a raffle ticket, but that's how they get around it by saying what it is. Right.
Raffles are great.
But
You want a fruit basket?
But seriously,
$2,000.
I got into a major fight. There was
Maybe
a theater,
TurboGrafx 16.
on 8th Avenue in Homestead called the Leona Theater. Hell, they had vaudeville back then at the Leona. But before its closing days, one of the bus stops was right there for the 51C to get up the hill to up in the Munhall area, up Whitaker Hill into Munhall, in West Mifflin up that way. And before you would transfer and get on that bus there around that area, there were a lot of rough people in that area that would come around and have to break thumbs in order to get their envelope for protection on the streets around that area. I mean, I then had a lot of bullies come by and pick on me every once in a while. And because I was lucky enough to have my training in boxing, which of course then benefited me as I played hockey and a few other things.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I had 3 young bullies come up to me while I was waiting in front of the candy store on the corner there by the Leona Theater. And they kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me until all of a sudden I decided I was going to throw a right cross and hit one, left upper hook and hit the other, knock them both down, and they were done. And I came across with a straight right and decked the big guy right in the middle and knocked all 3 of them down. And they all got up crying. It was like a scene out of, the Little Rascals or something.
Right.
Mike Mullally over there.
But they got up and they all
Mikey
ran
Mullally
down the
was-
street.
Mikey V,
And from that time to, about another 6 months until I could finally go up the hill myself by driving a car, they never picked on me. They never came around that corner again to bully me or anybody else who was standing on that corner.
Yeah.
So, lessons learned, because I got kicked around and beat up a lot and in those days, going back and forth through that area. It was a rough neighborhood, so rough now that people don't live there anymore or hang out there, except the drug dealers or the old people who
It's a tough neighborhood.
that still has it as their designate watering hole,
Right.
and they're left alone. The
new inhabitants don't mess with the old school.
They don't mess with the old school. They let them go,
Yeah.
and that's their own separation of things there, because that's not really their clientele.
You
They
know-
don't really bother them, and they don't really need to.
It is such old world up there that there is actually a lot of segregation
Yes, there
in
is.
Pittsburgh.
But they still are, and I will say this, going back to the
It's still
TV thing,
habitable.
they're still operating in the 80s. I mean,
That's true.
my folks are having trouble going in a conversion between Verizon to Comcast, and trying to convert what they need to do with cable and so on and so forth for all the telecommunication wars that are going on. And they're having a hell of a time just still trying to figure out and try to diagnose what the heck's going on. And, people in their 70s and 80s and 90s, they don't want to deal with iPhones or they don't want to deal with iPads. I got them a tablet. Got my mother a tablet for Christmas, and lo and behold, she still doesn't want to touch it.
Oh, my grandma's so addicted to the iPad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And
Candy Crush, Plant Zombies.
See, and I know mine would too if she got on it.
She is
Yeah.
tearing it apart. She's on Facebook, Twitter.
I don't,
Dude,
She would. My grandmother would also do that if she took 5 minutes to get into it. But when she got into it, she would.
But
She'd be
she
into
has no 5 minutes. Everything
That's
is
true. Everything's planned out. Back to the fighting thing. I think something that didn't get passed down through the generations. Unfortunately, with like neighborhood corner fights, was the code. I think that back in my dad's day, there was a code when it came to a street fight.
Mhm.
You know, it's fist versus fist. You know, you fight till the other guy doesn't want to fight anymore, and that's it.
Yeah.
And now I think it's progressed to anything goes, and
Total bitchness.
and yeah, someone has to go to jail, which is bullshit.
Right.
And the introduction of street level weapons, as far as being shanked or, God forbid, shot now, it's just such a quick resort to go to a weapon,
Yep.
rather than
Right.
a street fight and or a fist fight. And unfortunately, in today's world, the common corner street fight doesn't exist anymore.
Well, let me interject this real quick. In the 60s, and this is early 60s, you would, if you were over the age of 18, then you would probably use either brass knuckles or a knife or some way or shape or form. But handguns were not prevalent.
Right.
And if you were younger, it was just fists.
Right.
Maybe an occasional stick or a club that would show up at a fight, or a baseball bat. But you would never have the weapons.
It's like the Warriors.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It exactly like the Warriors. But I mean, that's how you would fight. And then all of a sudden, if you were older, if you were 18 or older, then you saw the switchblade come out.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. But it was, it was the switchblade thing. And that was about it. I mean, the guns really didn't come out. The only time you used a gun is if you were really robbing a store, or if you're really killing someone over because you had to kill them or something. But,
now
but the
guns are-
handguns were very, you're really not a carry-on weapon.
They're just used so quick now too.
Yeah.
Well,
Like in situations that no
Going
one
back
should
to
ever
your,
get.
the mafia in
Right,
Pittsburgh. My
right.
great grandfather was killed in a mafia war.
Right.
In Pittsburgh.
That's who had the weapons.
Right.
That's the people who had the
But
weapons.
those are like the big dogs,
Well, no, he was just a dude. Like, the thing is, I think the perception of like the mafia is that everyone's making a ton of money.
Right.
It was like two dudes at the top making money.
Right.
And
Right.
it was like my great grandfather who's like had to raise pigeons to eat.
Mm-hmm.
He was just trying to feed his family. So, I don't know what they were. It was probably during Prohibition or something. They're probably,
Well, that went back to the fact, like I said, the envelopes were passed under the counter, not over the counter, to protect whoever they needed protection within
You're
the
just
small
paying
groups
them
of
to
people.
protect them from themselves.
Well,
Like,
basically,
yeah,
that's what
like
it was.
you don't-
But that's how you broke
yeah,
a thumb, because
exactly.
he wasn't going to pay you. Then you broke his thumb, and
You-
then he.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're paying to be protected from the guy who's taking your money. It's
Exactly.
extortion. It's bullshit.
as the story goes, and I'll say this for myself and my.
Are you
Yeah.
listening?
I think we have a higher opinion of our fighting ability than we actually have. I've been in over 100 fist fights, won every single one of them. My great grandfather, probably thought the same thing. I'm gonna get all these mother effers.
Yeah.
And then he got ganged up on, and 2 or 3 dudes just opened up their handguns on their pistols.
Mm.
Oh yeah, that's it.
But then I don't know if that was the first killing that started. I don't know if it's a famous war in Pittsburgh, but like when it was bad, the mafia, that's what started.
Oh, really?
A bunch of killings. Yeah, but my family did some revenge killings on whoever else. It was
Right.
a big thing.
Yeah, I'm with my ability to fight, like even going downtown or whatever, I've been in lots of situations where I've just walked away because it's not worth it. You don't know.
Yeah,
You have no idea. And I've had a gun pulled on me twice now,
Right.
and you learn real fucking quick that that's not a fun situation to be in.
I know.
So it's easier to just keep a cool head and just walk away, unless someone's attacking one of your friends, or a guy punches a girl or something. I'm gonna step in. I'm not gonna let that happen. But
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you
if it's
this,
just me
though.
versus a guy, I will try to talk myself down.
Orlando is full of douchebags,
Yeah.
and not that Pittsburgh isn't, but there's a real like mind your p's and q's type of attitude in Pittsburgh, where there's like, men are men, like they're the old.
Well, I got
world
pulled
manly
on
men.
me in Pittsburgh, so
Yeah, but obviously there's douchebags everywhere.
Yeah.
But like if you go to McKee's Rocks, I was just kind of wandering around, and McKee's Rocks is a rough part of town.
why were you wandering around it?
I just wanted to discover, like,
You know, I just wanted to have a picnic. I went to Pine Hills,
All right.
and I just
Well, when you're
I just took some brie and a nice little an '86 Cabernet, and
I didn't.
And some dude walked
and
up and called me a fag.
I set
Yeah.
up in front of the Quickie Mart and had
See, I
a
didn't-
wonderful afternoon. No one does that.
I didn't. But the thing is, when you're in a city, you don't know a whole lot of people. The only thing you can do is really kind of explore things. And the only place I actually didn't. Mean
I'm
to
sorry.
go-
When you said that, now
Yeah.
I see Seth showing up to Pine Hills in spelunking gear.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't. I'm just here to
Well,
explore.
Well, I was also looking for a boxing gym, and you know.
Oh, that rough neighborhoods are the
Yeah,
best
that's where
place to
they're
find
at.
gyms. Yeah.
I didn't expect. I did not mean to go to the Hills District in the black neighborhood.
But you did.
They knew the second I crossed the bridge,
I could smell your
They knew
ass
I was
coming
there.
across the bridge. Yeah.
and I made the first U-turn I could, and
It was already too late.
got the fuck out ASAP. Like, because it was. I mean, that is the roughest place I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I was immediately like, this is not going to go the way I wanted to.
You're coming across the bridge, it's like,
Yep, exactly.
cracker.
Well, the biggest problem I had facing that territory up there was it was just above the Civic Arena, the old Civic Arena, the Igloo in Pittsburgh. And I got another story to tell you here with the my old Gremlin that I had. I had a yellow Gremlin, and I had an 8-track player in it. And going to a hockey game, coming back out of the hockey game, 22 below 0 wind chill factor.
There you go.
And
That's my kind of weather.
And I come back to the car. 8-track's
Oh, I love
gone, snow's blowing, there's about 2 inches of snow in the back window because the back window shattered. Had to go the next morning to work, freezing my ass off. The wind was coming, flowing
Yeah.
behind me on my shoulders. I had crust of snow on my shoulders by the time I got to work. My ears, I thought they were actually going to fall off, even though I had my Tulsa cap on and so on and so forth. And I said to myself, and I think that was a turning point in my life to say, I'm not going to stay here in Pittsburgh anymore. I'm going to move on in life and go somewhere where it's warmer because regardless, I mean, you know, the insurance fixed my window and I got my new 8-track player. But the problem was that it was so cold. Just by that was a normal everyday occurrence up near the Hill District. Cars getting broken into every block. Pittsburgh cops, when I asked them, you know, I said, does this happen all the time around here? And he said, well, probably once every day.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, well, thanks for the warning.
You know,
Yeah.
I thought about you the other day actually because Jerry Seinfeld. I don't know if you guys know, he has this TV show or an internet show called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee,
Yeah.
and he did one with Jon Stewart recently. It's the latest episode, but they come and pick him up in a yellow Gremlin.
Oh yeah.
So when I saw it, I was
Sweet.
like, dude, I bet you that's exactly like the car my dad had. It's crazy though, and they drive around in this yellow Gremlin. It's pretty
I
crazy.
was gonna say it's funny that you brought up the snow and moving on because that's exactly why I moved back to Florida.
Oh,
There is
fuck
nothing that sucks worse than getting up an hour early to shovel your car out of snow.
Whatever.
Yeah, and try to start it,
Nope.
make sure it runs,
Nope.
and trying to have it ready to go.
It's good for you.
Yeah. I mean, now
It's
today,
good
yeah,
for
you got a car that you can buy a car where you can program it on your phone, have it start up automatically from your iPhone to have your car warmed
there's
by the
these,
time you get in it.
There's these.
Oh, yeah.
There's these inventions. They're called garages.
Yeah.
Not-
But you
it's
know,
not there, man.
but
you can put
But
your
I
car
will
in
say
it.
this much, though. In all the row houses that they have built there
no garage
in Western Pennsylvania,
Yeah?
people parked on the street.
Yeah,
that
I
was
parked
it.
on the street.
Yeah.
I didn't have a. I
You didn't have a choice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
It's
yeah.
dude, it's an old.
But I
city.
love. I don't care, man. I love the cold.
Not me.
Oh,
I
fucking
on
love
Google
it.
Maps, I showed her where I lived, and I showed her the stoop I fell off of because it was covered in ice. I took one step on the stoop to go down the stairs.
Yeah.
There's only rail on one side. I grabbed the rail. My foot just went like this. I mean, I fell off the stoop into the snow. Had to go to work. When I got to work and the snow melted, I was wet all day.
Mhm.
Snow. There's nothing good about snow. It's terrible.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's the worst.
That's
the worst shit
awesome.
that- yeah.
But
But
air's
I-
all cold and crisp, and it feels good in your lungs.
I guess we should probably get to the Ukrainian thing because we keep putting it off.
Great.
No. You
Eh.
guys can keep talking. I was just trying to pull this fucking thing
I
up,
mean,
and this
so-
then this stupid fucking phone is pissing me
The
off.
I mean,
thing-
I
You know what I've realized about this story that's a little bit different is that there's not. I don't feel like the hype of the last plane crash is there.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a lot more information about what's actually going on.
You talking the Malaysian one? That
Yeah, the
disappeared?
Malaysian. Yeah, because the other one was a Malaysian airline too, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's just that there was more
Close
mystery
to
with
it.
the last
That's
one,
73.
whereas this one is
Mine
just
was-
like, hey, we shot the fuck
Mine
down,
was the
Yeah.
71.
and
Which could have
what are you
like
gonna do?
history shows us it's like these insignificant things that start big, catastrophic world events.
Okay, so here's my problem with the lack of information coming out of what we're being told.
but
with
more
this-
than what we had in the last simulation.
Bro,
crash.
because the last crash, we still have no idea where it crashed. So that's a mystery. We have no information because it just disappeared.
Right.
My problem with this one is the lack of truth that's being told to the public about the actual the plane coming down, because what we're being told is that the Ukrainian rebels were the ones that took the plane down, possibly by accident, because the plane looks so much like Putin's plane.
I thought it was the Russian rebels. I thought the Russian rebels got weaponry from the Russians, which is like that's what
right.
Right.
That's the only way that plane could have come down,
Right.
which is a huge problem.
it is because
Because
that's like
if
right
it's-
up their alley. Is,
If it's the
you know.
Ukrainian rebels that did it, trying to take Putin out,
Right.
that's one thing. However, it still doesn't excuse the fact that they shot down the wrong plane, one.
Yeah.
But number two, the lead commander for the Ukrainian rebels has come out to say that, A, we didn't do it. And two, we don't have the weapon capability.
Which is
service
why they're
the-
in the problem
We
they're
don't.
in
We
right
don't.
now.
here's
We
what
don't,
went.
we
Here's
don't have
what
the
went
weaponry
down.
to take a plane down. We just don't have the surface. The thing was cruising at 30,000 feet. We don't have that capability. The only people
Yeah.
that have that capability in the region
Are the Russians?
are the Russians.
Obama's pissed because he knows it was Putin.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Putin and the Russian army, it was Putin's underground rebels
Right.
who are still
Ukraine.
causing the shit over in Ukraine
Yeah.
at the borders. And
Who he
and
directly.
who he directly has the
Instructs.
say so
Right.
over.
Yeah.
Now, what they and their intelligence figure out what is right and what is wrong, because they've already shot down a few Ukrainian airlines, cargo planes, and helicopters, etc., with that same type of equipment.
Right.
Now they goofed. Now they brought down a
Commercial
commercial
International,
aircraft,
right.
and the Ukrainian people saw the dialogue that went on between the Russian underground rebels
Right.
and the Russian underground rebels. Once it was, how do you say it, interpreted for American television, it shows that they goofed.
translated.
Yeah.
That they goofed, and therefore Putin's not going to say, "Oh no, it wasn't my guys."
Right.
Well, he said basically it were rebels that were trained not under my command.
It's horseshit.
Well,
Okay. Putin.
well, yeah, well, so therefore, who is it? Well, again, it's Russian trained, Russian rebels with Russian equipment. That's just like any other conflict, though, that's going on in the Middle East right now. Any other, whether it's Syria or whether it's the Gaza Strip or wherever it's at, you still have Russian weaponry showing up at these places
That's the
because it's
yeah,
the
absolutely.
underlying sentiment of Putin, who's become, in no uncertain terms, a modern day Hitler.
Oh, without he's
He wants to take
I don't know.
over.
That's
And
that's
well,
a
wait,
big
that's
statement.
only
No,
because.
no, no,
No, wait a minute. No,
That's a big
we
statement.
in our own politically correct Hitlerisms just want to say, and I threw this out there because we
I like that.
cringe. Well, we cringe from talking about Hitler
Right.
because of
Well,
the Holocaust
I don't-
and all that.
I don't
and,
cringe.
And I'm
I
not.
just give it.
Well, I'm just
more of
saying.
a-
I'm
but
not putting him.
Stalin killed 10 times more people
Yeah.
than Hitler did.
Right.
It's not our. It's not. Our
I'm
era,
just
right.
using Hitler as a reference
Right.
Okay.
along other leaders of the past
Right.
because he wanted to dominate Eastern Europe.
Well, he wants the USSR back without a doubt.
Right, and so he's
Yeah.
doing the same thing. He didn't like the separation of states, and he wants the old USSR back for the economy.
Pulled up
To
the Iron
thrive.
Curtain back.
And with everybody else thriving except his economy,
Right.
he feels that if he can bring that all back into his economy will survive.
Well, he wants. I think
The
they said
so-
strategically they took the port, Crimea because of that port,
Right.
Yeah.
so that they could control.
Oh,
shipping in that
absolutely,
area.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He's trying to gain hotspots again,
Like he did in Georgia that he failed a couple years
like
ago.
Germany tried to do back in World War I days.
Yeah.
And it grew up into the World War II days
Mhm.
to have Adolf Hitler start to do the same thing,
Yeah.
where he started to get Eastern Bloc countries in his own, whether they were shipping ports or delivery ports or top cities for economic reasons, et cetera, et cetera. That's what his plan was. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, this seems like a modern day Hitler.
Well, the thing that's scary about what Putin's doing is
Yes or no?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Power is still how much land you control.
Yeah, I guess pre concentration camps, it's similar. Yes, it's
Right.
very very similar.
Right, and we're
but-
not talking about all that. But then again,
But then Turkey
Yeah,
with the
but
Ottoman
you bring
Empire
up, you
was
bring
trying
up
to do
Hitler,
the
you
same
immediately
thing.
bring
The
that,
The Holocaust,
you bring
right.
that into mind.
So-
Like, you think about like Europe
because of
before
our
that,
education and what we've learned in the
Yeah.
common day, right?
the model in Europe to use is that gain as much land as possible. Like the Ottoman Empire covered most of Europe too for the same reasons, and then they fell because of either I think it was the French and the Russians, then the what is it, the
I think that's correct.
Franco-Prussian
Yeah,
War.
yeah.
Like all that stuff is all about like how much land you could control.
Mhm.
So,
Well, the thing that's really that I've been reading about with Putin and his ties with the KGB. What's scary is the gangster ass shit that the KGB wants to do with that port.
right.
That's why that's aside from making a ton of money on the port, because shipping, the money in the shipping industry is one of the most wealthy industries in the world.
Without a doubt.
And you get that under your belt, that's big. But if you also control the port, you essentially allow the KGB to do whatever they want.
Right.
And ship and come and go as they please, unchecked.
Well, they're
And
alive
that's
and well.
fucking scary,
And-
man.
and-
That's
and
really
I'm-
scary.
And I'll go back to the Malaysian thing. The Malaysian Airlines or the Malaysian government, basically, in my mind, are not assholes or not idiots or whatever. They're just plain stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, why would you fly over airspace?
And that was the other
That's
question.
contested.
That was
Right.
the
Right,
other
yeah.
question.
That
They
both-
showed the flight path, and
Right.
they were way off their flight path. They
Well-
should have never been over that border
Well,
in the first
the
place.
best-
They should never fly over those two countries that are so engaged in that area. If so, make a southern route or make a northern route,
Right,
but you
right.
don't go straight across where there's a war zone going on,
Right.
and you have the possibility of
Well,
getting
they showed
shot down.
they showed the computer model of where they were supposed to fly, and they clearly weren't following that flight plan at all.
And you can get crazy conspiracy on it. Like I've been seeing so much stuff about everybody's tampering with the crash sites and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
and,
right.
And you can
Well,
you can get into
anytime-
who's in whose pocket as far as like pilots go, things
Mhm.
like that, and it could just be a ploy for notoriety
Well,
for publicity in
yeah.
a way. I
Just
mean,
getting your name out there.
no one knows how many bodies have actually been discovered. Are there pilots? Did anyone eject before?
Well, that goes
or
back to the
anything?
missing.
Like it can get pretty hefty. Like from
Right.
what I've read,
And the other thing that's scary
there's
too
so much
is like
speculation
the
with it. It could just be a
the amount of software that I've seen
it's
recently.
so bad to say it's a ploy
Well,
for,
here's
for
what-
publicity using all those innocent people.
Well, that goes back.
Yeah.
That goes back to the missing plane, doesn't it?
yeah,
I
no,
mean,
same thing. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
But
and
you know what's really crazy is that both planes also had high level security individuals on those planes.
Right.
The one that went missing, it was loaded full of these contractors that have built this EMP, right?
Yeah.
This specific
Well,
type
yeah.
of EMP that is small in weight and size, but can deliver a large disruption field, right? Now, that patent was taken from the original investor by the group, right? That group was on that plane. The plane disappears. Now all of that ownership for that EMP went back to the original investor. So there's the first conspiracy theory. Now this conspiracy theory, for whatever reason, or this plane going down, for whatever reason, they were going, using this plane from Amsterdam to go somewhere else. But there's like 60 of the world's leading scientists in the HIV research went down in this plane.
That's
Yeah.
true.
The
But
60 of the biggest minds in the HIV game were killed in this crash.
yeah.
I'm just baffled from the first plane going down, and no one knows where it's at.
If
I
it
mean,
went down,
If it went down.
It just
right,
disappeared.
Right, because I'm telling you right now, if it went in the water, with all the subs that are in that region,
Yeah.
they would have known exactly where it went
They
down
would've found
right
it.
off the bat.
And plus the debris on top of the water, they would see oil slicks.
Right,
like
and
this.
I think it's just a matter of they flew this jet to an undisclosed airport, and they took over, and it could be connected with this flight. It
Yeah.
could be connected.
Well, the thing that like most of Asia is undeveloped.
Yes,
You
that's
could
true.
easily land a plane with a landing strip that no one knows about.
Has to be a big enough
Yeah.
runway, but that's true.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
But the thing that I don't think that
Yep.
people are talking about, and this is good news for us, I think. And I know I'm horribly politically incorrect because I want this country to be powerful. Is I think what they say with like in 10 minutes of that plane going down, Russia was on the phone with us doing damage control, saying
Absolutely.
it wasn't us. So that I think that a lot of this gaming that Putin has been doing about like pushing our buttons is going to end, at least for a while, where he's going to have to do some backstepping.
Well,
It's either backstepping or progress forward with whatever fucking. He's got an agenda.
No, he
He's
does-
got
he has
a
a
plan.
plan. He has
He's
an
got
actual-
a fucking plan.
He's
and
going to mobilize troops.
Yeah, he's got a plan and he's doing something.
Yeah.
And this is, I honestly believe it's him fucking not just pushing buttons, but pushing the limits of how far we're going to allow him to go before we stand up and say, knock it the fuck off.
I think this is. Hopefully
You think this is the
it.
straw that breaks
I
the
hope
camel
so.
back?
Well, here's and going a step further about the conversation. From what I understand, that Obama and Putin were on the phone together
Right.
talking about sanctions, and one of the deputy administrators to Putin came in, kind of like a chief of staff, and said there was a plane that just went down. Blah 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 blah. While they were on the phone, Obama could hear this in the background on their conference call. So obviously, it went down while they were talking on the phone. Now, whether Putin,
How convenient.
right? How convenient. Whether
It's an alibi. It writes
well,
itself.
you know, it's
Yeah.
really funny, and I don't know if anybody watches this, and of course, this is fiction versus fact. 24, Jack Bauer saving the world, so on and so forth. But all the things that had gone on recently are almost like true to form. Like they hacking into computers because there was a double spy versus spy going on, along with the chief of staff who was in bed with the Russians, who wanted to kill Jack Bauer, and then all of a sudden was in the bed with the Chinese, who wanted to take over the world by hacking into the computer systems and using it as other terrorists from the Middle East doing the plot, and so on and so forth. So you say to yourself, well, this is all now starting to happen in true real life. Where's the separation? It's kind of scary because when you think about it, what are the ironic, plot isms between if the plane never went in the water, where did it go? What landing and runway did they grab this for? Intelligence in the first place.
Right.
Did they shoot down the wrong plane because they thought it was maybe the same plane or same intelligence?
I really
in the first
just
place?
don't understand any of this. Like,
Well,
it's so fucking
well, here's-
ridiculous. Like, there's so much. Like,
Here-
there's so much wrong with everything. Like, as it is. Like,
Well, the
I
thing
I
is
just
that
don't understand why.
we're not. There's no transparency. We're not being told the truth.
Well, there's
Right.
there's
No,
too
no,
much
no.
information.
As
is the
far as
problem.
planes being shot down and people bombing each other and shooting missiles and using donkeys as fucking living bombs and shit and killing
history
children.
is stirring back
Like,
up
it's
again.
just- it's just-
about to get interesting.
I just don't get like
Like
we.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that
We
was the
just have-
birds of
we
World
just
War
have
One.
so much shit wrong with
Yeah.
like everyone has their like everyone's economy is fucked.
Mhm.
No
Well,
one's
ours
no
is-
one's country is working as it should be,
Right.
and instead of being like, hey, why the fuck isn't our shit working properly? Everybody just starts shooting at each other.
Well,
And, hey,
again,
let's start a war. A war usually fixes an economy. Let's
Well,
do
it
that.
does.
Hey, yeah.
The military complex.
I sound like such a
Generate
hippie, but
money.
it's like just stop it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but
hang
for the-
out, let's figure some shit out
It's-
together.
yeah,
Yeah,
for the
Why-
Russians or
why
for the
not-
North Koreans,
Why not
yeah,
stop killing each other for a few seconds?
well, war does
Drink a
breed
beer and figure this out.
prosperity in their minds. War breeds
Without a doubt.
prosperity, and a lot of the hardliners and the separatism again between the Democratic thinking and Republican thinking is that the old adage was that when you had Cheney and Bush in a room, Cheney said war is good. War keeps people in factories. War keeps people employed. Let's if we got to go to war, let's go to war, and that keeps them happy because they're progressing with getting their monies and their budgets to war planes, jets, tankers,
But
etc., etc.
Didn't he own a company that rebuilt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you go on and on and on the connections
Let
that
me give-
lobbyists say war is good.
Right. Well, let me give Obama a compliment. I haven't had the chance to give him many compliments.
I don't think I've ever heard you give him.
No. Yeah, because I was not a big fan of the whole Hope thing. I thought that was a horrendous crock of shit. He's taking care of business. I know that like Democrats get painted as pussies by like the war hawk Republicans.
Right.
But
Yeah.
under
He's
Obama,
always taking care of business. That's the whole thing.
I mean, I'm talking about on the war end.
And
like,
doing it diplomatically, not getting us into a world war.
Yeah, because he's killing everybody with drones.
Well, hey,
Yeah,
Hey.
that's what I'm saying.
He's drone
Right,
crazy.
drone it up.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
He's killed 3 times.
He's video
people he
game
hasn't
crazy.
personally
Dude, he's
killed.
sitting in the Oval Office
Yeah.
with a 360
Like,
controller.
3 times the amount
Dropping
of,
shit, dude.
of terrorists or whomever met their demise because Obama's sending out drones.
Yeah. And he's not shy about it
No,
either.
he's not.
No, they're like,
good,
they question
fuck
him
them.
about it. He's like, absolutely, I call that.
Here's a missile for you. Guess
Yeah.
who was in that plane? Nobody.
Yeah.
but again,
No.
he's getting the job done.
Yeah,
I
I
see
mean-
him. I see him in the like in the White House with a table full of hunter-killer drones and a bag of Cheetos, just winging them out the fucking window.
Yeah.
Just fucking
Yeah.
eating Cheetos, just fucking
Yeah.
throwing
Yeah.
them shit.
That's like people. Here's the thing that like we were all against the war early on, and we're like, this is never going to work. It's a boondoggle. All of a sudden, man, it's turning around, and they're fighting each other, and ISIS has popped up, and it's fighting Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's not good though, because ISIS is the scariest fucking front we've seen as a
But-
society of human, as an animal in a long time.
Yeah, but
These
the good
motherfuckers are ruthless.
The good news is that they fight conventionally, which is what we want. Because
Well, that's only because they don't have the funds to
the
fight.
funds to fight other
Otherwise.
ways.
but the
And they're not
thing
smart
is,
enough to
though,
fight
is the
with
most
web.
ruthless army that's ever walked the planet just happens to be from the country that we're currently sitting in.
No, yeah, that's true.
There's not an army on the earth that can stand up to the American army.
Right.
And
Well,
Well, ISIS is like parasites in a beehive.
let's
Yeah.
let's
If I want to use
yeah, let's not
Good point.
push that angle too far, because as we stand today, our military system is strained.
well, it's because we had to
And
learn to fight
if-
a new war.
If there was a World War III and you had China team up with Russia, their bed buddy,
Yeah.
you're looking at an army that is 5 times larger than ours with
Right.
China alone. And then you put on top of that Russians' military spectacle, because
Right.
that's all they spend money on.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuclear warheads in their army. That's all they
But you
spend money on.
know,
And now you
But
have
China
those
can't-
two.
The thing is, China
they
can't
can't-
go anywhere.
We can't stand up to that.
We
though.
can go anywhere. They can't go anywhere. That's the thing.
They have
China,
a fleet. They have
yeah,
a
but
naval.
you got to
You
understand, China's bigger than Russia.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
China's way bigger than Russia,
But-
but they're not in bed with them anymore.
No.
Putin's separate. He's a pure separatist,
Yes,
But
and
he
he's
is.
separated a lot of policies with China.
But-
Just because both of them are communists doesn't mean they're in bed together.
Not
anymore.
even.
But
yeah,
if
'cause
it was-
China wants, they like our model.
Well,
Because
yeah, they
know how
like
much
our.
money
They
can make.
they've and we've borrowed so much money from China.
I was going to say.
that you wouldn't want to fight the person that owes you money.
The
It doesn't
fuck we
make
wouldn't.
it doesn't
How
make
does
any
that debt
sense.
go away?
Yeah, but
No.
China owns a lot of big buildings in this United States.
Right.
They do.
Right. So and the
Well-
Chinese investors could also influence the Saudi investors to pull out of this country. And if the Saudi investors with the oil money that's involved in this country, if they were to pull out, our economy would collapse and it would be fucking game over as we know it.
Well, I mean, I think that's,
Yes.
that's a bit of a simplistic
I officially lost all
like,
contact. with this
kinda
shit.
dominoes type of
I have no
thing.
idea what the fuck to talk about.
The thing, I'm not worried. I'm really
I don't know
not.
who's invested in what. I have no idea.
Yeah, but you aren't worried, but you also you wouldn't be opposed to things going back to a frontier type of lifestyle for mankind in this country, like where you farm and you raise, and like that's what you would love to see happen. So
Well,
that's why you're not afraid.
No, I
don't want to fucking push any kind of farm,
No.
anything across the field or
I'm
pick
not
shit.
afraid
I want to go to Mickey D's.
because
I want to play video games
the truth
drink.
is, I want to see
and raise bees.
our generation be what it is. There's a lot of we make a rod for our own backs. We
Right,
abuse
but
ourselves.
what if our back breaks?
That's what I'm telling you. We're not going to.
You don't think you think
No,
we
we're
can't
going to
fail,
rise to the occasion like we always do.
dude. But what if we don't?
Your back will break. This back is getting stronger.
I'm telling you, you're leaning on a fucking generation of Facebookers.
Yeah, what a
Very
bunch
true.
of colossal pussies.
Okay, there you go. That's who you want to be carrying your back.
Yeah, they're fighting on message boards.
Yeah. You know what, man? Can we talk about Facebook for a minute, too?
I guess. Go
Sure.
ahead. Why not?
If I see one more post about how evil hunters are, I'm going to
That shit's stupid.
That's dumb.
take a shit
yeah.
on
Dumb as
my
fuck.
laptop.
It's stupid. That
I'm back.
Yeah.
That's just people trying to be politically correct about
No.
don't hurt animals, but I'm gonna go to Outback and enjoy a blooming onion and a steak and a lobster.
Like,
It's
by
like,
the way,
fuck you.
Like the food you eat comes from a grocery store, and they buy animals
And they
or
slaughter
buy-
them.
It's
yeah.
just disconnection.
And they
It
were
is.
like
It's
your
total
factory
disconnection. It's
farms are-
bullshit.
It's torture essentially for animals.
It's
No.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Like if you've seen the footage of like where your
Watch
chicken
food
comes
eat.
from,
Yeah. Dude,
dude,
fuck that.
it's disgusting.
Yeah, like I have no problem with anything, like fishing, hunting, whatever.
Yeah.
Do it.
If
Like,
you're gonna
learn-
kill it,
learn
eat it,
Yeah.
or you're gonna kill it and
Oh, it's-
benefit from it
you're better
dying.
off.
It's infinitely more noble than buying meat from a grocery store.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you're better off learning how to do that just in case shit does hit the fan and you have to. Like
I would like to go hunting with a bow and arrow, but I'll be honest with you.
it's tough.
I'm just saying that this generation that you think could rise to the occasion, I don't feel that way.
Oh, they can't.
I feel like this group of people that you would need to rise to a specific occasion
They can't.
they would fail.
Yes.
That's
They
unfortunate.
would,
I don't,
and it sucks because people aren't cut from your cloth anymore.
No.
Dude, I believe in the American spirit, though.
Dude.
Yeah, well, the
Beards.
American spirit is gone bye.
Beards. I hate to quote a meme, but beards are the tribal armband of the past like 5 years. Like beards. Anybody with a beard is basically
Well,
rocking
he's
a
got a
tribal arm.
beard.
I know.
I've got a beard.
As do
You got a
I.
beard,
As do I.
so I don't.
But
I
at
don't
this,
buy into it.
no. It is.
All three of you guys got beards.
We do.
Yeah,
beard
yes.
enough.
I'm just
we're
kind of
we're
lazy.
beard bros.
I just I don't like to shave a whole lot.
Right.
Typically.
I've never seen my father without a beard. Actually,
Wow.
in his
And
whole life.
No, I'm
But
just
you know,
saying,
I'll go in
Yeah.
another generational thing here. Beards and tattoos are your thing.
Oh, that's the other one.
Yeah.
Beards and
you'll see-
tattoos
you'll
are
see
your generation. Trust me. I mean,
tattoos. Like I have tattoos.
Yeah.
If I wasn't wearing shorts, though,
Right.
you would have no idea I had any tattoos. Like you'd have no clue I had a single tattoo on me. But the trend is tattoo your forearms and your hands, your neck,
mhm.
only
and have
only
no
no
nothing
other.
else.
Yeah, those are people that just do it for show.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you don't have tattoos that you can't see with your clothes on, that's
Yeah.
one thing. But there's people
Right.
that only have tattoos
where
you can see all the time, and that's trendy bullshit.
Exactly.
I can't get into that.
if you can't get your chest tattooed,
Well, either trendly or gangly.
yeah,
One or the other.
well,
Yeah,
man,
if you can't sit through a chess session,
yeah,
don't talk to me about getting
it's
tattooed.
yeah. It's fucking
Tattoos like
brutal.
bastards.
I don't have my chest tattoo. I got my ribs done.
Oh, that's good. That's good
Yeah,
enough for me. A rip shot's good,
But it's definitely a
that chest
generational
bump.
thing, honestly. It's and I don't know if that qualifies you to say, okay, you know, your dying spirit is dead
Right.
to a point. I just think that any ways and means that you look upon life has your own direction of where you're going to go. That doesn't mean that you're any lesser of a man or
Right.
more
Well,
than a man.
what I think the tattoo explosion shows in a gap between generations is that previous generation had number one, a false conception of people who had tattoos. One, and two, they were more worried about public appearance because of other individuals judging them. And for whatever reason, this generation, the ones that were covered in tattoos, I could give two shits what someone thinks of me. I
Right.
don't know why that's a bad thing,
You know what, though,
but
man?
when I'm walking down the street, when I meet somebody, I don't
Yeah.
give a shit about what they think of me
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
And I think
There's-
that's changed.
And see again, that's a generational thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
my
necessarily
morality
think that's
is
good.
that in my generation we care of what you think.
Right.
We care of how you think about us.
Mhm.
We care about how you would think individually about me.
From my
I care
appearance,
about that.
right.
So I don't want to get into that trap. Whereas I don't give a shit about anybody else
Right.
or what they think.
But
I'm not
I
that type
think-
of person
I'm not-
because I didn't grow up that way.
Yeah,
I think that
but
attitude
in
is
your-
good though. That culture of
More
Right.
fireworks.
public perception of yourself
Right.
is good. You should want people to think well of you.
Right, but I'm just
yeah,
saying.
but I do that through my actions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But
Like,
see, that's the generational gap.
yeah,
See,
I do
that's what I'm
that through
saying.
my actions and the way I treat others. But what you see of me and what your perception of that person is no concern of mine. What I'm concerned about is how you feel about me through my actions as a person.
But how
That's what
often do you
matters to
see
me.
someone with their fucking pants hanging around their ass? They're walking around in a fucking tank top looking like shit. You're just like, I don't know what to. Like, obviously, I know.
You
it's
would
really
but with that
Yeah.
sentence, you just wouldn't interact with that person,
right.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to interact with everybody. We don't all have to be on the same page.
Well, until they ask me for change.
Well, then that's a different situation. Then you can go tell them to fuck themselves.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me ask you this question. And
Yeah.
this here or there would be on a personal level now, but I'm going to go around the room here,
Okay.
and I'm going to ask you this question just to follow up on what he just mentioned about giving two shits worth. If we needed to go to war, in a conventional war, would you just volunteer, or would you have to have them make you go to war? And we'll go around the room.
That's
It's a good. It's a good. It's a good
Is
question.
it,
but
is,
it's
it, is,
complicated.
it, is it a yes or no, or is it a?
Can-
Is there? Is
you
there
can give
a,
in depth. Go in
I was
depth.
gonna say, is there the
Well, give us
factor
the
of
simple
what-
answer first, and then the complicated answer.
if there was a meaning behind the war, yeah, no problem. But if it was like
If it's something you didn't agree with.
yeah, I mean, it kind of
Well,
depends.
World
on
War. Let's make it. You said World War, right?
Yeah, World War.
World War,
Yeah.
like
All the
like
chips
World
are
War
down.
II, like it's yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd have no problem. But if it was some bullshit corporation,
Driven lobbyist
Yeah.
bullshit. No.
yeah, no.
Seth?
Yes, World War. Yes, I had the option to go to war when the Iraq War came out,
Mhm.
and I was against it, so I didn't.
Yeah.
The chips are down. The country needs me to deliver mail or sit in a cubicle or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Fine. I'm too old to go to war. Like, they're not going to put my fat ass on the front line. I'm going to be doing something.
Yeah, we're just too broken.
All right,
They
all
wouldn't-
right, Corey?
I mean, if it came down to it and it was a world war and it was like the country needs you desperately or we could lose this thing, I would go. But anything outside of that, probably not. No. Because I have a hard time wanting to fight for something that I don't know anything about, and a lot of times soldiers are misused in a lot of situations against their own knowledge.
Because they're very
and these
young.
and these people come back all sorts of angry
Well,
because
PTSD is a serious
it's a
problem.
very serious problem, and I don't know if I want to go through that.
And
So-
you know firsthand also because of Zach and
Yeah,
and the
absolutely.
relationship
I've got
with
really
Zach.
close friends that went through it, and if it came down to it, and it was like, "Yo, we need you," or we could lose everything that we stand for, yes, I would fight. But anything outside of that, no, I wouldn't.
Like I said, if it's legitimate reason, yes. But if it's corporate lobbyists,
I mean,
crap,
here's a legitimate reason. There's some fictitious, just for argument's sake, there's some fictitious force. They're mobilizing, and they're coming to our country to fight on our
Hydra.
land. I'll fucking sign up tomorrow.
Right.
But if you're gonna
You
send
mean
me
like
to,
some alien force?
if
Hydra.
you're gonna send me to
The
some
Red Skull
fucking foreign
and
land to fight over some fucking agenda that I have no part of, no.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think that's the line in
I
sight.
I think I was 18,
Thanks for your answers. I appreciate
18 or 19 when 9/11 happened, and the question at the time was, what do we do? Like, do we join the army or?
I just didn't think 9/11 was legit from the beginning. I thought something was skewed, especially when they were like, "Let's go to Iraq." Why do you want to go to Iraq? Iraq had nothing to fucking do with 9/11. Not one thing
Well,
to do with 9/11.
I got from my professors. They're like, don't join the army. The government needs you here in the classroom. And
Well, they need a
obviously-
paycheck.
Well, none of that, but it was. I don't know if you realize this, but college campuses have become so progressive and ultra liberal that it's almost,
They've kind of always been that way, though.
but not to this level, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's like the thought police times 10.
Oh, really?
It's bad, man.
Yeah.
And I'm not super conservative. I'm mostly libertarian, and I voted for more Democrats than Republicans. But I came away from college with a bad taste in my mouth, a bad like liberal
We
progressive
did
taste.
blow a lot of dudes,
Yeah.
a lot of dudes in college.
I was gonna see who was gonna jump on that one first.
It was too
I
easy.
mean,
It was a
when you did,
softball.
I was like,
It was
oh,
a
I would
softball.
just
I could
drop
not
it.
hit it.
I mean, bad taste in my mouth. He had to jump on it. I just gave it to you.
I don't know.
He gave it to me so easily. I had now have a bad taste in my
Yeah,
mouth.
And that's where, like, I know we don't exactly line up politically. I mean, I don't know what Matt's politics are, and I know you're a Democrat,
Mhm.
and I think you're a Democrat too.
I'm actually registered no party affiliate because
I'm
my
not saying-
feeling, my whole family were Democrats in Western Pennsylvania. We grew up in a Democratic thought process. But in the past, I changed my affiliation 10 years ago only because there were people that I thought, and I decided to go, whether they were Republican or Democrat, if I knew them because I've been on their campaign trails and I've been able to know both sides of the fence,
Mhm.
I would vote for the right candidate for that job.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the way to start voting, to get the right candidate for the job.
But that's a
Right,
very
right.
specific.
And I was tired. I was getting tired of party drawn lines.
Yeah.
I was getting tired of hearing the rhetoric from just one side or propaganda on radios from the other side or
So-
television news, stations from the other side and so on and so on. And I was getting tired of it. And so
Yeah.
I said to myself, I'm going to make up my mind all of a sudden and look into each candidate wholeheartedly.
But you also
Find out
had
their
the
pros and-
advantage of being able to go on the trail with them.
Yes, I did.
And see
that's
the
why I
behind the
changed
scenes,
my
how they run their
exactly, and
operation.
that's why I changed to a no party
Yeah,
affiliate because
as far as my background goes, my mom is hardcore right wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone who as long as they're okay as long as they're not all about killing babies,
Yeah.
she's down. Like as long as you're anti-abortion, she's like all about it. My dad,
So she's a one topic.
yeah, that's it. That's all that matters.
Mhm.
My dad's straight Democratic all the time. Like who's giving me the most tax breaks?
Mm-hmm.
So I came into it with I had either this extremist or
Right.
I had either the morality or the money.
Right.
One of
Yeah.
the two.
Two don't go together, by the way.
And I don't really give a shit. It's like who's not getting puppeteered.
Right.
Like that's basically what I try to go for,
Um,
which is near impossible to find because everyone seems to be in someone else's pocket.
I'm growing more and more tired of the process.
Yeah,
You
and,
should
and
be.
that's
I am
exactly where I am.
tired of it.
I'm almost ready to just be like,
it's
I'm not a
exhausting.
Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a no politics person at all, and just disassociate myself from the party
Yeah.
and not vote on anything anymore.
Right.
Because it's, to be honest with you, man, if you think that your vote really has some sort of value, you're fucking delusional.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Everything is pre-planned. Everything, like, the only thing that really counts anymore is the general election for the presidency, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that local,
Local government's bullshit.
and it shouldn't be.
It
That
shouldn't
should
be. It
it
should
should be in reverse.
It should
Right.
be the exact opposite, but it's
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
local politics are trying to get to the next level, and then once they get there, their political life is a constant struggle trying to get to the top. And that constant struggle, it's just doing favors for this person, doing favors for that person, doing favors for this person, and the only thing they're not doing favors
It's
for
fundraising,
is the
too.
fucking people that voted them into their office.
Exactly. I'm just trying to get in bed with somebody who's not trying to fuck me over.
And then
Like,
we go
that's
back
about
to
it.
the topic of lobbyists.
Lobbyists.
Yeah, it goes full circle. Exactly.
Yeah, that's probably
Exactly.
a good place.
I knew I was going to
Yeah,
start
no,
with
no,
one
no,
word
it's
here at the
actually- that's
beginning
perfect.
and keep it going
But
all the way around.
honestly, that is what's pushing me away from politics to the point
Yeah.
where I don't even care anymore. I
That's-
don't even want to bother myself.
All right,
with it.
well, you guys going to vote in the next election?
Local.
I mean, I might vote for presidency just because I can't
I
stand to
gotta-
see.
I mean,
I
I'll
have
vote for
to vote
local,
against-
and I have to, but like
Do you care for senators or
Is
House of Reps
is Rick
or
Scott
congressmen?
eligible for
governments?
another term in office or no?
Yeah, he's going up. He's going up against
Charlie Crist.
I'm voting against Rick Scott.
Absolutely.
I don't care if they put a goat with a straw hat on. I'm voting against.
Yeah.
I'd vote
that
for the
fucking
goat.
maniac.
Okay, and let me ask you this: in the whole scheme of politics and rights and lefts and so on and so forth, and I'll just briefly throw this out here: Governor Rick Scott, Republican. Charlie Crist is on the Democratic ticket this time.
But he is.
He was a Republican.
Right.
A lot of the ads that Scott is rolling out against Charlie Crist is when Charlie Crist was a Republican,
Right.
and it's kind of ironic that a Republican calling a Republican.
Right.
You know what I mean? And here Charlie Crist comes back. Now, between the two, and there was a great thing that you guys and everybody were privy to just recently on Facebook. Someone had posted a Fox station, and I think it was the Tampa Fox station, as a matter of fact, came out and posted all this little montage of their times trying to interview Governor Rick Scott on a simple topic. And he never answers. Now, I personally have tried to interview this guy several times about a certain topic, and he always avoids the topic. So I can tell you on a first-hand basis on my job.
Is that because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, or he can't say because the only thing he can say is the wrong thing?
Well, that's half of it, but when you call him on something that he's done,
Right.
because it was wrong in the first place,
Right.
he avoids it at all costs to talk about the topic of why he's there for what he's doing at that time. And he won't talk about any other subject. Even though you're trying to get an answer, other politicians will basically give you a yes or no answer and at least be cordial enough to give you a reason why. He won't do that. He'll avoid you at all costs, and then he'll just turn his back and walk away. And he's the first governor that has ever done that in all the governors I've seen in my 37 years in this Central Florida area.
Yeah.
To me, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And now when you got a Fox station calling him on it, that's pretty incredible.
We got the governor we deserved, and Chris got voted out of office because he took the Obama money,
Right.
which helped Orlando a lot. We got a bunch of overpasses that we desperately needed,
Mhm.
and we turned our back on them, so we got who we deserved.
Here's the
But
thing.
I'm going to vote for Charlie Crist, and I'll tell you
You're
right
damn
up front
right.
because
Great.
only because I know him as a man,
Really?
and he's a very good man,
Here's my.
That was a
and
risk
he's a
to take that
politician.
money.
Now he's a politician,
Yeah.
but I'm telling you, on the times I spent with him, and I can go into some great stories that I have with him, he is a good man. I mean, he will answer your question. He will pull you aside. If he can't tell you on camera, he'll at least give you an explanation. That's someone who's at least honest enough in his gut to tell you what he feels and what he needs to do or what he can do or can't do.
Something I
Compared to, oh no, he'll talk about the topic only, and if you're not going to talk about that, he'll turn and walk away.
Here's something
That's
I
not-
foresee with Charlie Crist, and it's going to be a big issue for him because I do think he's going to win. But Charlie Crist is also responsible for signing some of the most harsh legislation that the state had ever seen for marijuana possession. Now we're coming up on we're coming up on a vote that is going
Yes,
to
sir.
legalize medical marijuana. And how do you have your state leader back that decision when he's the one that was one of the harshest marijuana legislators in our history as a state?
I was gonna say
He's changed his mind. He's looked at the facts, and now he's reconsidered.
But then that also scares me for him as a politician. I don't mind flip-flopping in politics at all, because just what you said, you get the facts, maybe your opinion changes because you have more intel, that's fine. But to go from one coin so hardcore to the other, it's like going in with a red paint job and coming out with a blue paint job, and I'm like, this is me. It's hard to buy into. It's hard to buy.
How vicious politics were when Barack took over. Everyone had a bullseye on their back, and everything you did. So he wanted to appeal to the hardcore Republicans.
Because he thought that the gray hairs still have power in the state, and they're losing it because they're dying off.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, one word: lobbyists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote for the dude who's gonna legalize it.
Something.
And that's it. Like honestly, like that's about the end of it.
Something that you guys might find interesting. So with my job, I get to do inspections of various things. There's a nursery. I won't give the name, but there's a nursery in Apopka, and they were actually a huge facility, but they're struggling, right? They recently brought in a contractor who builds prisons in Texas, and they're going to spend somewhere in the range of $30 million to put up a wall around the facility with 4 guard towers, and they're revamping half of their whole facility just to grow marijuana. Here's the crazy thing. All the blueprints and everything that they need as far as to grow marijuana legally as a medicine has already been signed off by the state of Florida.
Good.
Good.
So what does that mean?
Great.
Do we even need to have the vote? if the state's already signing off on things,
I think it's preemptive. I think they're just like everybody's going to vote yes, so just fucking do it.
Look, as long as the Republicans, and this is a separation between Republicans and Democrats here on this one, as long as the Republicans do not think that marijuana should be legalized, as long as the Republicans do not want same-sex marriages, there's a lot of moral issues here that the Republicans stick by.
right?
And- And as long as they're
prohibition bullshit.
and
You
as
gotta
long
get rid of that moral bullshit.
well, I'm just saying, as long as the moral majority in that respect want what they want, they'll continue to try to fight their hardest to do so,
Yeah, of
even
course.
though constitutionally,
Right.
even though what is working, even though what is being overturned or upheld seems to favor everything to modernize
Right.
our own
We have to,
constitution.
or we'll be left behind.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
And a
and
modern
because
society.
of that, and the Democrats are taking heed about this, you're finding that, of course, on the Democratic side, the moral majority of the Democrats now have given in on the same-sex marriage issue, and they have given in on legalizing marijuana. Only for the facts because they know down the line, you probably, as a nation, could make 3 times much more money in taxing
And
this.
that's exactly what I was going to get into. The
Then
Republicans,
they don't want it because it's against their moral majority.
until you
Whereas
talk to
the
the
Democrats
Republicans,
know that they can make money off of it somehow, somewhere down the line.
you talk to the Republicans in Colorado and Washington and California. Now that they're seeing the tax money being brought in, they've changed their tune.
Yeah.
They're like, it's a medicine,
Dude,
and I
the
own a
difference-
medicine company. Weird, you
Yeah,
know?
the
Like,
difference between socialism
Funny
and
thing about
capitalism and
the
everything else in
bricks I have a
between.
hard time carrying around.
morality and physiological benefits, like psychological benefits, like it has it has no correlation. You
yeah,
can't-
we
you
don't
can't-
need to even get into
You
the
can't.
benefits of marijuana. It's
can't.
I was just it's just with Charlie Crist. It's just interesting to me that someone that could be so hardcore against it now is flipped their script
I'm just
so
saying-
hard.
I'm just saying
Well, again,
because-
he's working for John Morgan, who's
Yeah.
backing the
Yeah.
bill.
Oh, it's
for
Morgan's
those-
bill.
Well, basically.
Yeah,
yeah.
But
It's
you
Morgan's
got to
bill.
remember it's for a medical Charlotte's Web case.
Well,
You know, it's for, the
Charlotte's
matter
Web.
of
Charlotte's Web is
calming down epilepsy or this certain disease, I forget the name of it, that traumatizes this little girl named Charlotte. So that's what it was first intended for.
Oh, I thought
and
you
the-
were talking about the spider.
No, that's
and-
already been legal.
Right.
So
But I'm
this
just
is
saying,
different.
that's what starts the ball
Yeah.
rolling.
Right.
Once you get that going, then you got other states
Right.
that are legalizing marijuana,
Completely.
not completely not for medicinal purposes, but just
Recreational.
legalizing it or regulating it.
Well, people-
Then you know where it can go from there, and it just grows and grows and builds and
And
builds.
one day, Colorado made $33 million
Yeah, well,
in
People
taxes.
forget that, like,
Taxes,
You
$33
can't-
million.
you can't
one
lose
day.
people in your state to other states that industrialize and
Right.
bring jobs.
Right,
So
and you'll
Florida
miss
is-
out.
Yeah.
And Florida is the perfect state to grow marijuana.
Yeah.
It is
People-
the perfect state.
Because of all the
People-
back-
you-
Well, it's a tropical state, so being a
year-round-
tropical
yeah,
state,
it's
you
a
can,
tropical.
It's funny how they don't realize that people can move.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can pick my shit up and go the fuck over there.
I could go to Colorado if I want to.
People,
Oh, yeah.
and you know what? There were
But
a
you
lot
know
of people
between-
that did move to Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot
Seattle,
of people that moved to
Colorado,
Seattle and Colorado.
Oh,
Yeah,
totally.
but now they can come back.
Yeah.
And
Wait
that's great
till-
for our state.
But
Wait.
there's
I don't want them back.
Stay
Well-
in Colorado.
Stay there.
It's crowded here.
Stay in Colorado, you fucking.
well,
bastard.
here's the whole problem also that you run
The
into
line at Walgreens
on
just
both
says
sides of the fence, and I'll try to finalize this one, is what happens with funding for all those who are hard anti-against,
Right.
and what happens with funding for those who aren't anti-against, but what ifs on the other side of kind of like an injury clause. You look at it legally through the courts and injury clauses of what's going to happen of people who are under the influence.
Yeah, but here's the thing that squashes that argument. If that was really an issue, alcohol would be illegal.
One of my favorite arguments is the nutritional
But see, it's
standpoint.
the lobbyists
Right.
that keep it.
Well, then that's it. It's a lobby issue.
That's what I'm saying.
Then
One,
it's just
one
there
of my
you go.
favorite one of my favorite arguments is the nutritional standpoint.
Mhm.
Honestly, right here,
Yeah.
little hemp bar.
Mhm.
That's becoming huge.
Right.
Huge.
Hemp
I've-
energy
I-
drinks. It's
hemp-
crazy.
No, there's just hemp protein in general,
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah,
like that.
everything
Yeah, hemp, and like people are freaking
Hemp
out about
free
it, and like
is really good. It's structural.
George Washington said
Oh,
the number
shit.
one crop for the United States should be hemp.
that one guy, yeah, building houses, cars,
Yeah,
fucking
I
everything out of hemp. Like it's so fucking
It's versatile.
The problem
hysterical.
Well, it's a natural product that
Yeah.
can be utilized
And-
in so many different ways.
It's just that it's starting to gain
The problem is the
popularity.
hippies got a hold of it first.
That is the problem. And hippies suck.
They suck bad. So
Hippies are the worst.
let me tell you something. If the apocalypse happens,
You're gonna eat hippies first.
no, the hippies are gone,
Yeah, well, that's true.
and I'm gonna have a throne made of hippie skulls.
Oh, I thought you wanted a throne of hobo skulls. I thought you wanted homeless skulls.
Well, wait a minute. What if someone comes along and sees you guys are modern hippies with your beards and tattoos? What are you going to
No, we're not
do then?
hippies. That's
Well, if
definitely-
I'm swinging a mace over my head, they're gonna turn the other way.
or a fucking sword that you forged yourself.
Yeah.
Fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Listen to Metal Drink Here and fuck shit up.
All right,
Yeah.
so I think this is the goodest spot as any way
Yeah.
to end episode 50.
Goodest
Gentlemen,
spot.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
we
Good
talked our
enough
asses
spot.
off.
Yeah.
Probably the best episode we've had yet.
They're going to make this into a movie. We keep going.
Oh, it's going to
Yeah.
be a two-parter. It's got to be. It's the only
Yeah.
way I can edit it down and fit
Yeah.
it online. So,
Okay.
from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for embarking on this journey.
Hell
50
yeah.
episodes.
Yeah,
Fucking
absolutely.
awesome. Really
Great.
looking forward to the next 50. And Dad, thank you for setting.
I've
tonight.
enjoyed
Thanks
listening to
for
a
coming
lot
in.
of them online, and I really appreciate you guys asking me and coming by.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you
I've
stepped
got
in. It was
so
great.
many stories to tell, but not enough time to tell them. But
Of course.
one of these days, you know, I'll come back for your 100th.
Hell yeah,
and-
yeah. Come back.
absolutely.
You know,
please
if,
do.
if there's a particular topic that we're going to talk about and we want your insight, we'll definitely
Yeah,
have you
If
on
I got
again.
the time to do it, I'll be glad to come on. Yeah.
Anything else, gentlemen?
No, I'm good.
All right, man. And until next time, this has been the Degenerate School of Wizardry, and I'm Corey Shuba. In front of me is,
Mr. Agizio.
to my left.
Oh, am I on your left? I'm Seth.
You are. Yeah, Seth.
Yeah,
Wait, yeah.
On the
Oh,
left.
no, wait. He's on the left.
Wait.
you're on my left.
Left.
Wait, am I?
I'm across.
Hold on a second. This is my right shoulder. Yeah, I'm on your left.
Just remember, Luke. I am your father, Luke.
And to my right, my father, Ken Shuba. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a great night. And